to terms. And that was that. I later on went to the state police because I have where I live, commercially zoned residential use, the property I own here, and it's run by the state police. And they did their investigation over the course of this, April till about 2 months ago. And they said, yes, this is in fact a scam and we're going to pursue it further. So they're getting warrants from the bank because I wired it from the bank, 2 installments. And here's the thing, to 2 different one was an LLC and one was part of the office. And so, yes, I made some dumb mistakes, but they got me. They got me on the
And this
emotional
was just recently, obviously, right?
this year, so it's still under investigation.
So it's what's tough about this is the amount of money they took from you is not worth, in my opinion, going after them, right? And it's like, if I want to go and put my principles on chasing these people, it's one thing. I'm going to go spend a bunch of money in litigation to ultimately find an empty hole somewhere, right? These scam artists, I don't know how they're doing it. And I think our guests today, Eric from California and Sean Reyes from Utah, they're going to maybe give us some highlights on some of these things. Particularly Eric is going to talk about that. But I look at this and I'm like, we have these rules in real estate for one thing. However, when they're reaching out to you on LinkedIn and you haven't become part of a community that tells you rule number 1 of real estate is don't wire money outside of escrow ever. Personally, even if my grandma asked me, Pace, will you send me $10,000 for this real estate transaction just to me personally? I'll say, no, grandma. It needs to go through title, right? So there are a lot of these things. And I know, Tracy, you're now part of the tribe. You're one of the Gator members, and you now are learning these things. Unfortunately, they got you. And guys, can we give her some gratitude for just saying, hey, thanks for coming in and telling the story, because it brings gravity to the situation when somebody real has recently gotten scammed. It's not something I made up. I'm going to tell you right now, for you telling this 8-minute story, you probably saved millions of dollars of people from getting scammed, because we've got over 1,000 people in here right now, right? So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. And I hope she gets the money back. We don't know that she will, sadly, but today let's bring Eric up here and have Eric introduce himself, talk about what he does on a daily basis. Carly, if you could bring Eric up, that'd be great. And Eric, how you doing, brother?
Great, Pace. Appreciate you inviting me on your show.
Man, I couldn't be more excited. You were actually excited about coming and talking to our audience about these topics, and your entire job, it seems, is protecting consumers from these types of scams. Is that correct?
That's my sole function as a district attorney investigator. I'm going to emphasize, I'm an investigator. I'm not an attorney. So anything that I say on this show, I'm not giving legal advice as a licensed attorney. This is I am a full police officer, full-time investigator with the district attorney's office, and all I do is real estate fraud for the most part. That and other major fraud involved with organized crime.
No problem. We've got the district attorney, Sean Reyes, coming up after you, which I think some people in the side chat are talking about attorneys and stuff like that. Sean Reyes is a different role than you, and you guys are actually going to talk about 2 different things. I'm going to interview Sean a little bit differently than I am with you. When I spoke to you, I think 3 or 4 months ago, you said that you go around and you teach people in California. I said, man, will you come and teach our people nationwide and give that same presentation and cover these things of, I don't know what you're going to talk about today, but I believe here's some common scams that are happening. Here's some things you can protect yourself, and here's some things to be aware of. Is that what we're going to go over today?
Absolutely. In fact, if I might say this, if real estate fraud was a biological disease, we are at the beginning of a pandemic. From beginning in May of this year, the type of real estate fraud that we're experiencing, not just in my county, but we've been able to confirm it's happening nationwide, was unheard of prior to May of 2023 in our county. And it is every day I am getting a new instance of this particular fraud. And this is what I really want to focus on right now, but it is so common. It's happening all over the United States. And I can tell you, everyone in your audience, especially those that are in your mentorship program that are trying to buy investment properties, are prone or potential victims. Yesterday, we just saved somebody $75,000, and I appreciate $6,000 and $10,000 losses. I truly wish those were the numbers I was working in. I'm in the millions of dollars of potential losses.
Do you think, to a certain degree, Eric, that these scam artists are going after people like Tracy because they look at it and go, man, the attorney, the district attorney, attorney general, investigators, anybody that would ever even touch this stuff, they're not going to mess around with the $6,000 losses. So I can get away with hundreds of these. And so it's even scarier at the smaller dollar amount because there's really not a lot of, I don't know. I mean, I guess not a lot of attention on the $6,000 ones versus somebody loses $1 million. Oh my gosh, I'm getting my attorneys involved. I'm getting a team. I'm going to do everything I possibly can to get that $1 million back. And so those scam artists get caught pretty quickly, or at least they're aware of. Whereas Tracy's scam artist probably slides under the radar for a couple of years. Is there any truth to that, or am maybe my perception wrong?
There's a lot of truth to that. However, what we're seeing is the groups that we're investigating are after the big bucks, the quick big bucks, because they believe where they're operating out of, that they're undetectable, they're uncatchable. So I think with the smaller dollar amounts, it's not so much because they think they're going to be undetected. I think it's because it's easier for them to successfully commit those crimes, meaning it's more likely someone's going to have access to $6,000 or $10,000 versus the $500,000. Because I'll talk a little bit about wire fraud when people are in legitimate real estate transactions, how the title industry, it was plagued with what we call wire fraud, where buyers were getting fraudulent wire orders from the title, not necessarily from the title companies, impersonated to be the title companies, and people were sending millions of dollars to the wrong bank accounts that were then shuffled overseas.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's get. Do you have a presentation, or can I ask you questions?
You could ask me questions, but I do want to talk about what's happening currently.
That's what I want to get into. I want to know like the most common stuff that's happening right now.
Right now, the most common thing that is happening in the United States is there are an organized crime group that is impersonating property owners, and they're targeting undeveloped, unencumbered lots, pieces of property, and they're impersonating the property owners. They're then contacting real estate agents that are unsuspecting, unknowing, and saying, hey, I'm the owner of this property. Can you list this property for me? Some of the real estate agents list the property. Their ultimate goal is to get the property listed, to get it sold. Then my impersonators will then remotely get the notary, the deeds and documents that are required through escrow, will remotely get them signed and notarized fraudulently, ship them to the title company. Then they'll provide wire orders of accounts that they control. The money goes to those accounts and then it leaves the country. And
they actually are closing escrow on these houses. They're getting all the way that far.
So let me clarify. What they're targeting right now are not structures. These are vacant, naked lands.
Okay, got it.
These are lands, naked lands, investment lands. Much of what I would imagine some of your students would probably be going after for investment properties.
A lot of people, yeah. A lot of people are going after wholesaling just pieces of dirt.
So your buyers, even though they have a lot more protection through the title company, still, can they afford months without that money that they just put down, or excuse me, what they use to purchase that property? Because once escrow closes, they're paying everything. Before escrow closes, they're paying for the full.
Yeah, a lot of times they're raising money from private money lenders, right? Like aunts and uncles and people's 401ks. Sometimes you're bringing hard money loans to the table, right? Like I have a hard money lender, Eric. If I find a deal today, hypothetically, and a real estate agent sends it to me, and they say, hey, the deal fell out of escrow. The seller still wants to sell, but it needs to close escrow in 2 days. I have a hard money lender here locally that will wire money to title the day before the transaction. And the challenge is that money's at 18% interest only. And so what's happening is your buyers, even though they are protected with a title policy, it sounds like they're hemorrhaging money and they've got a lot of loss. And then the agent and the title company, I mean, there's 4 or 5 people that are getting screwed over on this one piece of dirt.
I can assure you, you have the legitimate property owner who becomes a victim. You have the buyer that becomes a victim. Ultimately, the title company becomes a victim, and the real estate agent could potentially get civilly involved. My goal right now, and I think we've been successful in my county, is preventing these. So I've been educating all our real estate agents. Anytime we get a new piece of intelligence on how these guys are targeting the real estate agents and targeting these particular properties to get them listed, we blast it out. I've got my title companies involved. I've got my county clerk recorder's office involved, and I have the assessor's officers involved. We're training them all. We keep them all updated with lists of property. And I truly hope that the individuals that are targeting our county are watching this, are going to watch this later on, because we're about to let the cat out of the bag. That I've been playing these guys for the last 3 or 4 months. I've had some of these guys believe that they've sold properties, and all we've been doing is harvesting information from them, learning what bank accounts they had access to, and learning how they commit this crime, so I can educate buyers, real estate agents, the title companies, so that we can prevent this.
Okay, so how are they doing that? Actually, let's ask a better question, because I don't know that you're always going to know how they're doing this. They'll change their strategies all the time.
Absolutely.
What can we as investors do better to protect ourselves? Are there things and tasks that we can do, or a safeguard that we can make sure we're taking?
Absolutely. Currently, this is with the current crime trend. If you are a buyer of a naked lot, meaning a lot with no structure on it, the first thing you ask the real estate agent that's listing it is, have you personally met the seller? You need to vet that seller to make sure that the real estate agent has had a personal communication with the seller, not on the phone. Have they seen the seller in person? If they say, oh, well, we got a copy of his driver's license. These guys have been able to provide fake driver's licenses. They will not do Zoom. They will not meet anybody in person. They will do everything remotely and anonymously through text and through phone calls. So the first thing a buyer needs to do to protect themselves, the first layer is, hey, have you met the seller? Have you personally met the seller, seen them? What do they look like? You don't have to go into that much detail, but ensure that they have personally met the seller. The next thing is just like you just explained, everything needs to be done through title company. All money goes through the title company. All information goes through the title company. That way the buyer is protected. Never, never, never wire or spend any money on a real estate transaction outside of title. Put it in the escrow account and let the escrow company, title company manage those funds.
Okay. And that's rule number 1 in all of our real estate communities is never wire money, even if you're doing a deal with your grandmother and she says, hey, pay me $5,000 outside of escrow and then pay the rest, through escrow. I would tell my grandma, no, that's not happening. I want everything tracked, traced, handled, escrowed through the escrow officers and the title company. And the title company needs to give me title insurance. I'm doing deals only with title insurance. There's a lot of people I see that are doing quick claim deeds. And I'm like, these guys, and by the way, Eric, you said these guys won't do Zoom. How long will it take before Zoom and the artificial intelligence that's coming up in the world can actually fake the seller's likeness on a Zoom call?
Absolutely. In fact, I want to touch on something. I had a conversation with an FBI agent who will go unnamed, who said the United States, the world, is about to experience the largest redistribution of wealth through fraud in the history of mankind because of artificial intelligence. And that absolutely what you just described is going to be phase 2. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know how we're going to combat that yet because we have not experienced it yet. I haven't on a professional level, but that is coming. That and the voice being able to be duplicated.
Wow. So guys, there's some people in here that are brand new, which is what we really wanted the intention. We want to make sure that new people know this too as they enter the business. Some people are asking, what's a quitclaim deed? I'm not going to answer that today. Go on YouTube. I only have limited time before I've got Sean Reyes coming up, the Attorney General of Utah. People are asking, well, how do I, what's title insurance? Guys, title insurance, I'm not going to talk about that today. I will do a dedicated video on YouTube just about why I only do deals with title insurance, okay? Different conversation for a different day. Now, I feel bad for the title companies. As much money as they make, Eric, I do feel bad for them because it is their job to vet all of these things. And what more can you do, essentially, if you're the title company, besides checking people's ID? Because people like me, Eric, are really busy people. And so I have a head of operations that actually runs my organization. And sometimes when a title company tries to get a hold of me, my head of operations kind of barks at the title company, says, don't reach out to Pace. He's so busy. It's my job to do that. So I'm sure that some of these guys, these scam artists, are probably getting through because the title companies are really busy. Everybody's always overwhelmed. They'll overlook some of these things. They won't do a deep search or deep whatever. Are there strategies and tactics now the title companies are deploying to prevent themselves from getting in these situations?
Yes, there is. So what the title companies are doing is they're doing their own diligence. I'm not going to say how, on getting a proper address for the legitimate property owner. And in any time a property goes into escrow that meets this criteria, where it is a vacant lot with no encumbrances, they are sending a welcome package to the legitimate property owner through the legitimate mailing address of that property owner. That is how this whole thing started in my county. One of our property owners received this letter and said, I'm not selling my property, and then contacted me. And then from there, it blew up.
Wow. Okay. So we've got people doing this on dirt, which makes sense because I think the psychological attachment to a piece of dirt, and also think about this. If the buyer of a piece of dirt or land, obviously I'm just making fun of it. But if a buyer of a piece of dirt says, can I visit the property? Guess what you don't need? The seller's physical body.
Exactly.
And so it's such an easy scam in that regard. What other scams are going on right now that you guys are starting to see build up?
Well, and again, I don't want to put ideas in people's minds, but if you are a owner of a vacation rental, that is on the next chopping block. That's the next increase we're seeing. So what is happening is we have individuals that will, about 4 or 5, they will go on to these common vacation rental advertisement companies. I won't mention any names, and they will secure property for 29 days, not 30 days, not 31 days, because most of the companies will not allow that because it's a long-term rental. They'll do 29 days. And about 2 or 3 days before then, they will contact a real estate agent and say, hey, I live at this property that they're going to be renting. This is my house and I want to sell it. I need to sell it quickly because either grandma's in the hospital, husband's got a new job. They'll give an example, they'll give a scenario of urgency, and they'll say, hey, I want to list this thing for a quick sale under market value. They then occupy the residence for their 29-day stay. And sure enough, the real estate agent shows up, does a walkthrough. They may even have other buyers come through. Well, the price is so competitively priced that it sells fairly quickly, and they do a short-term escrow. The impersonators will set up their fictitious accounts, they're real accounts, but they're straw accounts, usually open up through an LLC. Escrow closes, the money gets wired. They have no problem going in and signing the documents with the notaries.
They'll physically go in and
Absolutely.
sign with the notaries?
That is the new phase we're seeing right now. They're actually going in, and I'm not going to tell you how they try to defeat the notaries, but they are going in to the notaries. And
well, you also are getting you're getting a lot of digital notaries now because it's so much easier. And so digital notaries are becoming a lot more common. In fact, the last 15 transactions that we've done, we did all digital stuff over the internet.
Yeah, but in California, they have still not allowed the digital notaries. And
man, that makes me scared. I almost wish nobody did digital now.
I think we're going to be having additional problems with the more we don't allow the face-to-face communications, the more prevalent these crimes and the more easy these crimes are going to be able to commit. And again, we're not talking about a $6,000 loss. We're talking about, I stopped a $2.4 million loss in Los Gatos, which if anyone's familiar with California, Los Gatos, Silicon Valley, only because a real estate agent in another county saw my alert, because he's connected with this national real estate company. He goes, man, this kind of sounds like what's going on with me. He calls me. I end up locating the true property owner. And he goes, no, that property's been in my family for 70 years. I'm not selling it. And escrow was going to close in 3 days.
Oh my gosh. You imagine being that owner when you get that call?
Well, could you imagine being the buyer who was going to front $2.4 million if that transaction would have gone through? You know, $6,000, $10,000. And again, I'm not trying to downplay Tracy's loss, but I wish I was dealing with those low numbers.
Yeah. And also think about the agent who's representing the buyer. And that's where the civil cases are probably coming in, is that the buyer saying, you should have known, agent, this is where we signed an agency agreement. You represent me in my interest. You're my fiduciary to a degree. And so these agents are unknowingly going to get entered into these civil suits where the buyers are suing them for now $2.4 million plus losses.
Absolutely, Pace. And I want to make my next point with that, because if there are any licensed real estate agents watching this, let me explain something to you. Do your best to vet any remote seller. And here's why. You might do everything right that your state requires you to do as a real estate agent, but do you have an extra $100,000 to spend in civil court to prove that you did everything right? Because that's what it's going to take you in legal fees on a low estimate, just to prove that you did nothing wrong. Because I will assure you, I have, through my investigations, I will tell you that title companies have been fantastic. They have been assisting us, allowing us to do these bait operations and harvest information. And I had the opportunity to speak with a very large title company legal, one of the head of the legal department, who made that comment. He said, hey, real estate agents need to realize that they may be doing everything right, but they're going to get drawn into a civil suit, and it's going to cost them at least $100,000 in legal fees to prove that they were right. And the title companies are saying, if we get sued over one of these where it's an impersonation case, we're going to bring in the real estate agent too. We're going to countersue the real estate agent for their derelict of duty. So vet your sellers. If it's a remote seller, if they will not meet you in person, if they will not even do a simple Zoom call, contact your local law enforcement, your district attorney's office in California, ask to speak to the real estate agent investigator, and ask them to vet this seller.
Wow. Hey guys, I own a title company, and I can tell you right now, we make great money on title policies. It's basically an insurance policy, right? That we're selling the buyer, selling the lenders, et cetera. And we do, as policy, try and do whatever we possibly can to point the finger and try. We don't want to adopt responsibility immediately, because sometimes there is somebody that made a mistake. So we stop, and the first thing is, let's blame everybody else. Let's make everybody bring their facts to the table. So that's what these title companies are doing, is they're going immediately to the agent and going, you had responsibility here. You were the one that made the mistake. And you've got people are saying E&O insurance. Guys, most people's E&O insurance would not cover a $2.4 million loss on a property. You're out of business at that point. You're done. As an agent, you're done. And more importantly, let's say a buyer goes online and makes a review about you as a person. How are you going to get rid of that? They can go on and write a whole entire thing, how you didn't protect them, and you're done. Your business is done. Your reputation is done. And I think more importantly, the emotional damage you would receive over, because what Eric is saying is $100,000 lawsuit, right? Guess what? It's guilty before you are proven innocent, when there's rumors spreading around that you screwed up. Nobody goes, oh, no. There's no way that's the case. It's one of these things that you'll never get back. So whether you were right or you were wrong, it does not matter. The rumors are spreading around town where people go, did you hear about the $2.4 million that Susie's buyer wired to title, and it turns out the seller was actually a fraudulent seller? Guys, rumors will destroy your business. And if the rumors don't, then your emotional damage of 18 months of litigation with the title company's attorneys will. Restless nights. your family, your relationships, everybody will feel the toll and the stress that's on you. Eric, what other things are you seeing? Are you seeing a lot of fake hard money lenders, people saying, hey, send me $10,000 and I'll wire the rest to title? Are you seeing those types of things?
So I've had a couple of those that we've referred to the FBI because the FBI was involved in them. So I had an individual who contacted me recently and said, hey, right around the time of COVID, he's never been late with a payment. He was in good standing. He got a call from a mortgage company that said, hey, you're paying this much interest. We can lower your interest. And your payment would be this. And the guy was like, oh, that's great. He goes, well, I'm going to pay my house off sooner. So if I keep making the same payment, they gave him a new pay schedule. And they said, hey, you'll have your house paid off in 10 years. So they had him sign the document that makes them his legal representative. They sent that off to his legitimate lender. And then he immediately started making his new payment. And they said, hey, it's going to take a little while, but we've already got everything funded. It's going to take a little while to start making the payments to us. Interestingly enough, he was making the payments by sending them a picture of his check.
No.
Yes. He never received any statements. And then 2 years go by and he goes to buy a vehicle and he doesn't qualify because they said your house is in foreclosure. He goes, you're talking about I have exceptional credit, which is why you should always be checking your credit once a year. He would have seen that his house was in foreclosure. And he said that I lost my train of thought here. Give me 1 second. So the finance company would not finance his vehicle. He says his house is in foreclosure. He then contacts Wells Fargo and says, hey, I paid this loan off 2 years ago. I refinanced. And they said, no, this loan has never been paid off. They said, well, how come you didn't notify us? Well, you signed this record of agent.
Oh my gosh. They sent the notifications to the other person.
Correct. So I started investigating and researching, and then sure enough, found out the FBI is doing a big case nationwide and referred it over to them. And he was out. Fortunately, the bank that was managing his original loan was very understanding and did everything they could to fix the issue. They waived all the fees and a bunch of other things. So he's still with his original lender. He's got a lot of things repaired, but he's still out about $13,000 to $14,000 more than $26,000. But again, folks, a legitimate mortgage company is not going to have you text in a payment.
Especially a picture of a check.
Exactly. I can see it setting up an ACH transaction, an automated payment. And I can see he never received any statements. And I understand everyone's busy these days, but this is the sign of the times, folks. It's too good to be true. It probably is not true or legitimate.
I got scammed, embarrassingly, but I'm all about transparency. I got scammed last December for $1.1 million. And it was actually somebody that was in a group with me, a high-level mastermind, somebody that has been in the business for a long time. He long conned about 15 people for about $20 million. And he was in a mastermind with a lot of us. And he said, hey, look at my results of this thing that I'm doing. And he was showing real bank accounts. They were all digitally doctored. And so part of what I'm going to have Sean Reyes talk about today. Yeah. Arpan says CoffeeZilla. Yep. You saw me I was on CoffeeZilla. I did an interview with them to try and oust these scammers. And one of the things that Sean Reyes is going to talk about is the extent of what some of these scam artists, whether it's real estate or business or whatever, the extent that these people will go. Guys, these guys have no moral compass. Like, it is off. It is turned. It's not like they're sitting in bed going, I'm doing something wrong. I'm going to do this only for 2 years until I get a bundle of cash. They don't have the emotional compass that we all have. And so we treat each other with mutual respect. And we go, well, you're going to operate the way I would operate in business. So I'm going to assume you're going to do all these things. This is why every agreement needs to be in writing. Your joint venture agreements, when you're doing a wholesale deal, you're lending, you're doing private money. A lot of the people in our community, Eric, are doing private money lending. Okay. So what'll happen is one person gets a deal under contract and they don't have the capital to get the deal done. They go and they find private money lenders and they go in joint venture or JV and they go and start an LLC together, et cetera. This is happening thousands of times a month. It's very, very prevalent. The challenge is sometimes even though I tell them, get in an agreement, get an operating agreement, get an attorney to draft these things and make sure you go through who's the responsible party for this and who's the responsible party. They will go into an agreement verbally, and then they come to me 3 months later and go, hey, this private money lender is not funding the deal. Or it's worse, it's on the other side. The guy that I funded his deal didn't put the money on the right property. I'm like, where's the agreement? Where's the operating agreement? Where did you tell him to send the money? Or where did he tell you to send the money? Oh, the private money lender says, well, they told me just to send it to their bank account so they could pay the contractors. I'm like, you wired money to a human being without a title company involved, where the title company should disperse. Like, what we do is I go get a construction loan, and my lender will not release the money until I achieve certain tasks. And so if I have a $100,000 loan with a private money lender, the private money lender says, I'll release $10,000 increments to you through escrow based on your completion. Guys, stop doing these interpersonal one-on-one things and just saying, I trust you. You cannot trust anybody. You got to trust, then verify before you invest. Trust, verify, invest. Write that down. Trust, verify, invest. It's not the other way around. People go, I'm going to invest, and hopefully their results make me trust them, and then that's the verification I need. No, guys, it's trust, verify the trust, and then invest. Eric, are you seeing anything bad happen to real estate agents? Anybody impersonating real estate agents?
I don't want to jinx myself, but I have not had anyone impersonate a real estate agent yet. That has not come across my desk as of yet.
Okay. What about, okay, so who are the parties? Are you seeing people impersonate title companies so that they can retrieve the wire that's coming in for the transaction?
Absolutely. And that was going to be my next point I was going to make. If you are involved in the purchase of property, you will receive a wire order. At some point, you will have to fund that purchase. Generally, the title company will send you a wire order. They will only send you one. And in bold print on every wire order request I've ever seen, it's in bold print. You will only see one. If you receive another, please contact us immediately. To the point that even the bad guys put that language on there when they send the second one. Now, my point being is, when you receive that wire order, unless you received it directly from the title agent that you're working with, meaning that you went into the office, they hand you the paper and said, hey, when funding's due, here's the wire orders, you question it. So if you get an email, you still take it in and go, I want to make sure this is legitimate, unless you have the 500 or 600.
Should we take it to the title company or to the bank?
To the title company. Take it to the title company, because they're the ones, it's their account. And here's why. I had a case recently where a real estate agent's email was compromised. So they saw when it was getting close, the bad guys saw when it was getting close for escrow to get closed. They beat the title company to the punch for the wire orders. But the 2 days later, the buyers received the order from the title company. Instead of sending money, they took them both in and said, hey, which one of these is real? And the title company pointed out, well, this one. And they said, well, this is weird because we received this one first. So that is the new tactic of these guys that are impersonating the title companies. They're trying to beat the title companies to the punch on the wire orders.
Wow. What's crazy to me is I spent a lot of time with Sean Reyes. It's crazy to hear the intricacies that these scam artists and business people will go through. And you just think, if you would have applied half of that to a legitimate business, you would be making really, really good money.
And Pace, I'm going to tell you how intricate these are and how uncaring and where they have no moral compass. I have an 82-year-old man en route right now from Michigan thinking he's legitimately picking up a check for a sale of a property. He's probably fallen victim for a romance scheme from this organized crime group, and they have convinced him, hey, can you come to California and pick up this check from the district attorney's office, because we've given the guys that we have seized it for lost and found. I don't remember what scheme what ruse I gave, because I wanted to see who was going to show up. I'm trying to identify some of the mules. Well, it's an 82-year-old man, and more than likely he has been fallen victim of a romance scheme, because a lot of the accounts that we identify through these fraud operations, they're accounts that these guys got control of through romance schemes. Or folks,
is a romance scheme basically like a guy in a foreign country pretending to be a woman and catfishing a dude? And
absolutely. And I'm gonna tell you the other one that's popping up that people, your viewers need to be mindful of: the work from home scams. Probably a very large percentage of the work from home scams appear legitimate. They're not. They're scams, and they're going to they're going to require
what is that scam? Like, I can understand the romance scam, because men don't think with this head right here; they think with something else. And my sixth grade teacher told me, she's always said, "You boys are going to ruin your lives because you're thinking with the wrong head." I didn't realize that was not a not suitable for work comment at the time, but that was also 35 years ago, so she could probably get away with it. But it wasn't until I was older that I started realizing men do really stupid things because they feel like a woman loves them. So I understand the romance scheme, and I understand how they're getting them. You guys set up a sting operation, is what you're saying, about this 82-year-old guy, and this 82-year-old guy is going to come and meet these mules that are they representing the scammers?
They're coming to me, picking up a check for my scammer, because my scammer said, oh, I'm too busy, I'm out of the country on another business deal, so I'm sending this person over to collect the check.
Okay, wow. So that person that's going to pick up the check is the mule.
Absolutely. But he's
my gosh.
He's an unwilling mule. He honestly thinks that he's doing something legitimate, that he's helping the love of his life who he's never met.
Oh, this poor guy. Oh my gosh. They get this guy sucked into a scam, which is interesting because then he's less likely to be questioned as an 82-year-old man as well.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm going to also warn people, other states, they don't give any, they still see this as a crime. Other states would still prosecute this guy for attempted theft, even though he's doing a mule operation, because it's so prevalent. They're at the point where, like, hey, you should know better by now. I would never, in these circumstances, prosecute this guy, but I am going to question him and get every piece of intelligence I can get from him. I'm sure he'll be more than willing to give me the phone numbers, the email addresses, and sure, it's all vetted through VPNs. We know all that, but guess what? I'm also working with other of the 3-letter federal agencies that have access to lots of information.
Yeah, descrambling the VPN stuff. My gosh, this 82-year-old guy might have a heart attack just when he finds out. I
will be very, very gentle with them and compassionate with them.
Oh my word, Eric! I'm so thank you for doing that work, man. That's a heavy load to lift, to tell an 82-year-old man he's a mule for a scam.
And he probably will leave here not believing it. And because I deal with that also fairly frequently, and it's amazing how much.
Meaning he thinks that you don't understand how much this woman loves him, and that you're out of your mind because you don't get it.
And I've misunderstood something. And that happens frequently. But the work from home scams is they go on to different social medias where it's, hey, I'm looking for an administrative assistant in my real estate firm. If you're interested, it pays $120,000 a year and you work from home. And people are like, oh, this is fantastic. Fill out this application to include your full name, date of birth, driver's license number, social security, address, everything. Hey, I really like your application. We want to hire you, but we're going to pay you through direct deposit. So please send us your bank account information for direct deposit. And we need you to open up another. I'm not done yet, Pace.
What?
You to open up a business account for us under this LLC, because you're going to be managing money for us. And that's how the the stolen money gets moved. So then we contact these people and they're like, well, this is for my boss. This is my boss's company.
Oh my gosh, man.
So again, a lot of states are not very forgiving and they will still prosecute you, saying you should have known better. California, we still need to show some kind of criminal intent, that they should have known this was fraud. So for instance, if they're getting lots of money coming in and they're taking $10,000 to $20,000 a pop, things like that. My whole point being, you have to be careful on, if it's too good to be true, it is.
Wow. That is, I used to think, honestly, as somebody who I think I'm an average intelligence, I used to think there's no way people are that uneducated. But I'm in Puerto Rico maybe 9 months ago, and we do a real estate meetup, right? Everybody comes out, we hang out, have pizza, soda, whatever, and get to know everybody. And we talk about deals we're doing. And this lady walks up to me, and the first thing she says to me is, "You owe me $20,000, sir. I hope you brought your checkbook." Like, okay. Did I make a funny comment? Like, I bet you $20,000 that such and such happens on YouTube comment or something? Like, is this a joke? She says, "No, I sent you my $20,000 and you stopped replying." I'm replying where? You've never communicated with me. I've never met you before. Turns out, Instagram DMs, crypto. Some person reached out with a fake name, and people are so lazy that what Instagram allows you to do is when you DM somebody, the name that appears in the Instagram DMs is whatever name you want it to be. But when you click on their profile, you'll actually see their real profile name. People won't even go to the extent of checking on the actual profile, whether it has a blue check or it doesn't have a blue check. She sent this guy $20,000 because he said he was me and I was selling Bitcoin and all these other things. I'm like, I'm not a Bitcoin guy. Not only did you not verify my name, I have a blue check. I give out my email. I have a website. I have team members. We're on lives all the time. I never saw you in a comment. She lived in California, and she saw we were doing a meetup in Puerto Rico, so she flew all the way to Puerto Rico to address me face to face. I'm like, you went through all of that, but you never once caught the red flags of it wasn't me. It was a fake profile, not blue checked. And you actually wired the 20 grand. And here's the two things that I took from this. And you tell me if there's something else on top of this. The psychology of somebody that sees something that's going to benefit their life. This is not suitable for work. So if you guys got kids here, I say people get horny for a deal. They lose all logic. And they get so excited about whatever deal or whatever thing that's going on that they're so willing to throw that money out there because it's so good. So they turn off all logic. That's number one. And number two, I realize that people really don't do a good job of vetting the people they're doing business with. And that, like what you're talking about, Eric, is you're saying, we can't hold these people accountable. We got to ask the right questions and make sure that they do know. We can't assume people know this stuff. It's our job to educate people on what's going out there. And do you see other reasons why people will skip over these red flags besides they're excited about a deal or maybe they just don't have the education? Is there anything else?
I think you nailed it. I don't want to use the word greed, but it is. It's a form of greed. People sit there and everyone is trying to make that quick buck. Everyone wants to carry the Louis Vuitton bags and the expensive items, and they see, and these guys feed off of that. They use that. They're con artists. They're professional con artists. And that's the best way to describe it. I think your analogy, the way you described it, is perfect. They get horny for it. This is going to fit their lifestyle. This is going to
make me achieve the thing that I thought. I'm going to give you 20 grand. You're going to be 100 back. Craziness. She showed me the screenshot. She said, you blocked me on Instagram after I wired you the 20 grand. I couldn't communicate with you. I was like, open your Instagram. And I went to my profile and I sent myself a message and I said, that's my profile. It has a blue check next to it. And she says, what's a blue check? So it breaks my heart to watch this. And I know we're limited on time. One thing I'd love for you to do is I have an amazing transaction coordination community. Molly and I, Molly, who you've spoken to, Eric, she's my head of operations. She's my business partner. She runs top tier transaction coordinators. And I really felt like, and Molly felt like, it was time to get the transaction coordinators really educated on making sure that they're vetting, because the transaction coordinator is touching all parties, right? They're talking to the seller, the agent, the title and escrow company. They're talking to the bank. They're getting loan payoffs. They're talking to the private money lenders, the hard money lender, the buyer, the person who's maybe organizing the deal. I'd love to have you come back and dedicate some additional training to the transaction coordinators, if you wouldn't mind doing that.
Trust me, I don't want the criminal's business. I'm doing everything I can to stop the criminal enterprises. And the only way we're actively, effectively going to be able to do that is through educating the law-abiding citizens who are being affected by these guys. If I can prevent, for every crime I prevent, saves me hours and hours of work. It takes longer to investigate these cases than it does to prevent them. Does that make sense?
100%. 100%. I mean, think about, we have 1,500 people on Zoom and 300 people on YouTube right now. So we have 1,800 people, right? And real estate is a big market, but it's not the whole United States. 1,800 people is significant. And if everybody here said, hey, I watched Eric from California talk about these scams that their team is putting together, sting operations and putting teams together to make sure that these things aren't happening, and here's the top most common things, you've, in essence, probably educated 10,000 to 20,000 people today, because 1,800 people are going to go off and tell 5 of their friends, right?
Absolutely.
Guys, has this been good? Give me 1,500 yeses in the comments, please. Has this been super helpful? By the way, if you've been taking notes, we've got a couple of amazing leaders in here that always take great notes. Chris Wahosky has 6 things that are his takeaways. So guys, put your takeaways in the side chat for everybody else. Go into the free Facebook group, do your takeaways as well. A really smart thing for you guys to do, take a screenshot of me and Eric, go put it on Instagram stories, say, hey, here's my big takeaway. Watch out for fraud in real estate. Eric, is there, I imagine in your position, you're probably not using social media much. Do you guys have a YouTube channel? Do you guys have Instagram that people can follow you on? Anything that your office might even have an Instagram account that gets the word out faster?
I believe my office, I give my boss the ideas for the press releases. They do the press releases, I believe, through Facebook. I only have a LinkedIn account that I use for outside agencies to contact me if they need so. Otherwise, you will not find me on social media. I am pretty well sterile in the internet. You might find a few articles about me. I should tend to give other agencies, let the other agencies take credit for cases because they deserve it. So I don't use social media. My son does, and my son loves you, Pace.
Oh, in fact, cool.
My son and 5 of his friends are probably watching right now, and they're following you because my son, even though he's going to college to be a computer science major, he started up his own little side business and
good.
A lot about business plans and everything. So he's very fascinated by your work, and I appreciate that.
I appreciate you saying that. I was so excited when we got in contact with each other, and the conversation I had with you was one of the most pleasant conversations I've had at all, right? And you're out there leading the charge, carrying the torch. One thing that you said to me that really hit me hard is, because we do educate a lot of wholesalers. Sadly, YouTube is all about their algorithm, right? So we have communities that people come into, they have heavier duty training and longer Zooms, et cetera. You said something about wholesale. You said, Pace, I got a question, right? There's a scam that's going on, and my team hasn't quite figured out exactly what the motivation is. And I said, oh, man, now I'm really interested. What are you talking about? You said, it's like ghost buyers. It's basically real estate agents are getting investors to get them under contract, and then sometimes they open escrow, sometimes they don't, but then they never hear from these people ever again. And I immediately go, oh, Eric, those are called wholesalers that are uneducated, that don't know how to actually do the business properly. And so our industry, sadly, wholesaling, real estate investing, fixing and flipping, I think a lot of agents think that some investors are scammy and shady as well. And I appreciate you sharing that with me, because I told the whole audience a couple of days ago, I said, you guys got to be very careful when you're out there doing business. And more importantly, when an agent gives you pushback, and when a title company gives you pushback and wants to verify who you are, don't get defensive. Work with them. Understand what they're dealing with is much bigger than just your one transaction. Operate properly, guys. I hope our industry, the wholesale and fix and flip industry, becomes more regulated like the real estate agents are regulated, because I'd love to vet people and I'd love to make sure that we all know everybody's above board. Sadly, there's a lot of wholesalers out there that are locking up contracts, wasting sellers' time, wasting agents' time, title companies' time, when they could be doing anything else, and you have no buyer or you have no ability to close escrow on the deal. That, in my mind, they're not intentionally trying to damage people, but they're not stopping and thinking, how am I damaging people by operating my business this way? So thank you for saying that. We are trying to educate the wholesale industry to uplift themselves and be better. And this has been super helpful today. Is there any last things you would say that would be some words of advice, some things that they should do, things that you should avoid? And then we'll have you come back and do some additional trainings with some of our private groups would be great, which would be cool.
Absolutely. Anytime, Pace. And I just want to reiterate, it's very important that if you are buying if you are buying a piece of investment property, ensure that the seller is known to the real estate agent. Do your own diligence. And the last thing I wanted to.
And when you say that, you're saying specifically, you want to make sure the seller has met the real estate agent, preferably in person, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And then one other thing I wanted to clarify, Pace, when we first met, I did not think you were doing anything shady. Your student, I thought, had compromised your account because we literally had this bomb go off with all this fraud. We're like, this doesn't make any sense. This is weird. We have this guy's name. We've got this bank account that's an LLC. And then I've got this name. So I'm doing research. I get a hold of Molly, and she's like, Molly's kind of going, well, this might be one of our students. Let's just make sure. I'm like, hey, we really don't know, because we've got so much of this fraud just blew up on us. I want to make sure this Pace knows that his bank account is properly being used and it was legitimate. And then you explained everything. And now I have been educating the real estate agents in our county when these things happen. Because I have the real estate agents professionals in my county are top notch. They contact me with anything suspicious, which is why I believe, knock on wood, we haven't had any of these fraudulent transactions go through. We have stopped every one of them.
Wow.
I can't say that to the south and north. We know that they've had some transactions go through large dollar amounts, and the civil litigation is just mind-boggling. So,
wow. Guys, please give it up for Eric. He crushed it today. This was unbelievable. Eric, I look forward to a relationship with you, and hopefully we together can spread this all over the whole entire country. This is going to be exciting.
Thank you so much, Pace. Thank you for letting me come and speak today.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Thank you, guys. Give Eric some love in the comments. This is absolutely phenomenal. Man alive. I didn't even know. I didn't even think about the romance scams. The work from home thing blew my mind. Now, you guys know somebody in our community, Mel Palmer, is actually coming up with something to combat this. I'm going to bring Sean Reyes up here in about 3-4 minutes. But we've got a girl in our community, Mel Palmer, that actually created a website called trustverifyinvest.com. And basically what it does, and I actually hired her to do this for me. What it does is it vets the people you're doing business with. It's like the Yelp of real estate. So think about this. If I'm how many people in here are private money lenders? How many people in here at some point in the future are going to lend money on a deal? Right? At some point, you're going to become the bank. Some point, you're going to insert cash into somebody else's deal. How the hell do you know that those people are verified? And so write this down, guys. This is not what this whole entire thing is about, but trustverifyinvest.com is a domain that Mel Palmer put together to help you guys verify the people you are doing deals with. So when somebody says, I need a private money lender, straight up, I'm going to tell you right now, have you verified that person is worthy of receiving your capital? Have you verified that that deal is a decent deal? And more importantly, is the paperwork and the agreement and all those kind of things, Is there somebody that can look at that? And vice versa, Nisha, that is correct. So this is what I did the other day with Mel. I took her to Yoko Fast Food, a little Japanese spot. And I talked about this and I said, could you verify me? Right? Because I probably this year have raised 25, maybe $30 million in capital. And my deals are kind of like 6 months or less. So people will give me money for 6 months and I'll pay them back. So even though I've raised $30 million this year, I'm guessing, I don't know exactly how much. We've paid all of it back except for $1 million, because I think Molly just raised another $1 million or so for some RV parks we're closing on. And you know what's funny is that, yes, people know me. People know that I've been on social media. I'm on YouTube. I'm on a TV show. Disney, who runs my TV show, verified and vetted me for 9 months. But you guys can't see that. So I told Mel, I said, Mel, will you do me a favor? And you know when I say that I'm a part owner of 2,100 doors, can you verify that that's true? Can you go through my ownership status and actually, I actually do not know how many properties I own. But Mel is going through with Molly and verifying all the doors that I own and being able to say, yep, Pace owns this many single family doors. Pace owns this many doors. Pace owns this many doors. Because if I'm out on YouTube and people are coming in and joining our communities, don't you guys think? Bill King says, must be terrible. Bill King, I can tell you one thing, the process of going through the journey of getting to the point where I currently am at, and I have a long way to go to get to where I want to go, it was terrible. The journey is harder than you think. The journey will take longer than you think. You will need more help than you think. So hell yes, it's been terrible. And thank God it has been, because the reality is the people that last and the people that are consistent are the ones that make it through. It is way harder than you think. It will take way longer than you think, and you will require way more people than you think you need. If you're one of those people that is out there as an island trying to do this on your own, it won't work. And the second that you realize that and you stop thinking about the destination, you'll forget how many properties you own too, because you're so busy grinding, so busy working, so busy making things happen in relationships. But now here's the tough thing. The tough thing is when you bring other people into your business, whether it's a lender, whether it's a wholesaler, whether it's a realtor, whether it's a title company, whether it's a hard money lender, a private money lender. I don't know about you guys, but that makes me want to verify everybody that I do business with. Everybody I do business with. If I'm going to partner with you, I want to make sure I verify you. I want to make sure you've not gone to prison. And if you have gone to prison, I want to know why. Have you fixed yourself? In fact, I was just talking to Dan Martell in my studio about an hour and a half ago before I came on here. And Dan Martell had been put in prison not prison, but he had gone through like juvenile camps from age 12 to 21. It was horrible, a lot of bad stories. And now he's a multimillionaire flying around in a plane because he overcame those demons. Okay. So Mel Palmer, I said, Mel, verify that I actually have, these companies, verify that I have these assets. And when I'm out there spouting on social media that I have this many doors, do you guys not think that anybody that's out there on social media should probably be verified before they start claiming on YouTube how many properties they own or houses they do? Do we agree with that? Or is it just okay for them to throw these random numbers out? I look at a lot of people, I'll tell you straight up. There's people I hang out with that they go, oh yeah, I own these many doors. I'm the rental king of such and such. I'm like, you have 3 rentals and you tell your YouTube audience you have 300. TrustVerifyInvest.com. I go to her and I go, verify me. And I don't know what she's going to call it, but I think she's going to call it the borrower's passport. And so she's going to verify, do background checks. She's going to check assets, etc. I'm never going to do a private money loan ever again. Mark my words, write this down. I will never do another private money loan without having somebody verified. And the same thing with a title company and a hard money lender. I want to make sure that the hard money lenders that we talk about inside of our community are verified hard money lenders. Verified hard money lenders. Think about that. Who remembers the story about Paige from 2 years ago? Yes, AlphaGator is verified. Okay. A lot of people remembers the story about Paige 2 years ago, before we made the rule inside of our community of you can't promote stuff that has not been verified. Otherwise, you either get kicked out of our community or you have to pay the cost. There was a girl named Paige that joined Sub 2. She's still in Sub 2. She's recovered from this problem, and I'll tell you how. She is a single mother, nurse 3-4 days a week. She comes into Sub 2, learns creative finance, does a handful of deals, starts cash flowing, starts making money, sends me this message of like, you changed my life. She sends me a voice memo actually on the year anniversary of Sub 2 launching. And she's like, you have no idea how much you changed my life. My whole life is I quit my job. I'm able to do all these things. I'm actually starting to save money from my cash flowing properties. Well, a couple of months later, she had $7,500. Actually, no, it's $15,000. I'm sorry. $15,000 that she was able to save up. And she goes into our private Facebook group and she asks, does anybody have a hard money lender? Because now I'm going to jump into a fix and flip. And somebody sends her a link that they pulled out of a free Facebook group and said, hey, granted, they actually said, I have never used these people before, but I see other people using them, and drops the link. Paige goes in there, clicks on the thing. The website looks so freaking good. The website looks so polished and amazing. And they say, no problem. We can fund your fix and flip. How much do you need? She says, $200,000. Okay, great. We need you to send us $15,000 and we will then fund your transaction. Guys, say yes if you've seen these scammy hard money companies, even in our free Facebook group that we are constantly deleting all the time. It's prevalent, it's constant, it's there. So what ends up happening is I feel bad about this because I didn't make a rule in our community, and I changed every rule in our community in Sub 2. And I said, rule number 1 is do not promote things. Okay, actually, I'm sorry. Rule number 1 is do not wire money to anybody besides a title company or a closing attorney that you have verified. Rule number 2 is do not promote services, products, companies, or anything that you have not personally used and verified. Otherwise, you should be cutting the check. And so what I did is I did a big Zoom about this, and I wrote a check to Paige for $15,000 out of my pocket to cover her loss. And I said, this is the last time I'm covering because I didn't have a rule in my community that says verify. Trust, verify, then invest. Trust, verify, invest. That's why Mel Palmer came in, is because has anybody seen the explosion of scams and lending issues over the last 18 months, even inside of our community? This is why I brought Eric in here and Sean Reyes. I'm going to tell you right now, if you are lending money to people, stop unless they are verified. I will be verified by the end of next week. I suggest you all get verified. So when somebody says, I need a private money lender, I'm going to say, are you verified? Have you have we verified your identity? Have we verified who you are? Have we verified your bank account? Have we verified your experience? I'm okay with you having no experience. I'm okay with you. How do you get verified again? Matthew says, how do you get verified? Last thing I'll say, and I'll bring up Sean Reyes. I probably got him for about 45 minutes. TrustVerifyInvest.com. TrustVerifyInvest.com. If you guys want, I'll text Mel Palmer and do you guys want her to come in here and talk about TrustVerifyInvest.com? I'll text her. If she can make it, I'll get her up here. After Sean Reyes and I have a conversation and an interview, then I'll bring Mel Palmer up if she's available. Okay. It reroutes to a different site. Yeah, it's cardinal-creative.com, I believe is the name of her website. Cardinal-creative.com is also her site. TrustVerifyInvest.com is a forward. Yes, correct. Ooh, this is interesting. Peggy Stevens says, my friend is being scammed now for $80,000 as she lent on a reference from someone. Should have been verified. Should have been verified that these people don't have a history and a past. Carly, if you don't mind, if we've still got Sean Reyes hanging out with us, let's bring Sean Reyes up to the stage. And guys, let's welcome my friend this amazing human being, Sean Reyes, who is the Attorney General of Utah. Sean, you've not always been the Attorney General. You were a business guy before, were you not?
I was, Pace. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great, man. You sound crispy.
Perfect, perfect. Well, thank you for having me on. Yeah, immediately before I became the Attorney General in 2013 for the great state of Utah, I was a partner in helping to run a tech venture fund called Accelerate Ventures. So I know a little bit about the investment world, and we had a diverse portfolio. Prior to that, I had served as general counsel, so chief legal officer, doing compliance, securities, and all of those types of things. And then prior to that, several different kind of iterations of my career, I did 15 or almost 15 years, 14 and a half at the largest law firm at the time in the state of Utah, representing, doing trials for all different types of work and clients, including some clients who had been accused of white collar fraud, Ponzi schemes, and scams. And it was interesting to be on that side of it. And that really helped me understand the psychology of fraudsters, scammers, and schemers. And I didn't love that side. I think everybody under our system, our justice system, is deserving of having zealous representation, but it was not something that fulfilled me to be on that side of things. And so even while I was transitioning out of the law firm and before I went to BGC, I created at the time, I think, a pretty novel and unique program called Fraud College with a partner of mine. And we set that up because the SEC at the time claimed that they had tools and curriculum to help the average citizen avoid being taken in fraud, but we never saw it. So we created our own. We would actually bring former convicted scammers and schemers in. We would bring experts in the field, people like Eric that you just had, by the way, very impressive. And I think his work is heroic. And we would try to educate people about how not to get taken in all.
You were bringing in known scammers, like people that had been caught, and then you brought them in to educate people on what they were doing?
Yes. Yep. So as you know, everyone's entitled to try to turn over a new leaf, and as part of their payment and debt to society, these were some of the things that they were willing to do. But it was helpful for the average person to understand how a scammer would profile somebody, how they would use a mark, how they would go through the thought process. And man, I listened to your presentation with Eric. I've got like 80 notes because everything that you talked about is what I deal with on a daily basis. And anyway, the point of laying that all out is that I've been around this arena for a while. And the thing that was perhaps saddest to me was after every one of those fraud college events that we did, free to the public, just purely for educational purposes, there was a line of like 100 people, mostly senior citizens, sadly, very vulnerable, very trusting, who would come and say, Sean, I wish we would have heard this presentation just 6 months ago. I wish we would have heard this 6 weeks ago or 6 years ago, because we lost everything. We lost our life savings, we lost our nest egg, and the humiliation, not only the economic damage, sometimes folks felt so depressed that they would take their lives, right? Because they were so embarrassed. They had worked their entire careers, built up what they hoped would carry them through their retirement, and then lost it in one fell swoop.
Think about the fact that they have children and grandchildren that look up to these people. And, especially like your children are waiting for you to basically pass on your legacy. And instead you give all your finances to somebody you invest in, and they end up scamming you. You lose everything. I can understand how they feel if they're, oh my God, horrible. Now, one thing I want to say before I get into some questions with you is when I spent time with you, one thing I noticed is that you're very different than most people I've spoken to in government. The biggest difference meaning you came from the business world and you understand the other side. And so your team has done amazing things in Utah. You have done amazing things, and you're going out now starting to build your personal awareness of who you are, and you're jumping on stages, etc., and you're trying to educate the public. And what I loved is talking about how pro-business you actually are, whereas some people in government are not. They didn't come from business. They didn't come from that world. They went straight into government, and they don't understand what we deal with on our side. You've got 1,800 entrepreneurs sitting here listening to you right now. Guys, I can tell you one of my favorite conversations I've ever had in my life has been with Sean Reyes, because of how pro-business he is and how he sets people up for success. Sean, what's the future look like for you? Actually, before we do that, what's your Instagram? Because you actually do have an Instagram that people can follow and go and engage with your content, correct?
Yeah, I do. And I'll give you that handle in a minute, but I don't want to lose my train of thought, because I want to be clear. I appreciate the setup, Pace, and you're so generous, and you're one of my favorite human beings and a brother, and I appreciate what you said. I want to be clear. There are a lot of people in the world of government and politics who didn't come from the private sector, who are nevertheless really great public servants. They're well-intentioned. They want to do the right thing. They just don't have the experience that your audience does. They haven't put it all on the line themselves. They haven't risked their capital. They haven't sacrificed and taken the types of risks that entrepreneurs and innovators and investors do. And so even though they're well-intentioned, they just lack that real life experience, both when it comes to creating laws and then also enforcing laws. So I don't, make laws. I'm not a lawmaker. Those are legislators, and in Congress, I influence those laws and hopefully am a voice to champion the business community and private sector to be reasonable. But I am a regulator, and I am a bit unique, as you alluded to, maybe a unicorn even, because the vast majority of regulators spent their entire careers as prosecutors or other government officials and don't understand how damaging a bad law that is created can stifle innovation and hurt small businesses, hurt investors, and even worse than a regulator taking an ill-fitting law that might be anachronistic even when it's passed, and then trying to cram it down onto the business community. And that's one of my biggest frustrations being on this side. That's one of the reasons I've stayed in office, to try to be a bridge and a voice for the business community, to help my colleagues understand that we have to be restrained when it comes to the power that the people have vested in us. We only derive power because you all have given us that power. You give us the privilege to serve. We
Wow.
have to be responsible. It sounds very Spidey-ish, but with great power, right, comes great responsibility. We have to be restrained. We have to be responsible in exercising that. And there's a tendency for people in government, and I know maybe this is getting far afield of what we want to talk about, just right about fraud, and I've got a million points I can address there. But there is a tendency for people in government to believe that government is the answer and the solution for everything, including important social issues, whether that's drug addictions or homelessness or fighting human trafficking. But that impulse is, let's have government solve all these problems. Well, government wasn't architected to be really nimble and lean and do what the private sector can do. Government was purposely created to be rather cumbersome, so laws didn't swing back and forth too quickly. Therefore, for a lot of people in government, they think that government is the end all be all, it's the solution, and oftentimes it's federal government. I tend to believe that private sector solutions are the best. And we do need government to be a catalyst, a convener, if you will, to bring all of these different resources together. But then we need the NGOs and volunteers and that strength and higher education. But really the real sword for us is the private sector leaning in, people like you, Pace, people who have audiences, that have influence, that have capital and resources, that can jump in and keep up with the pace, if you will, excuse the pun, of innovation.
You can use all the pace puns you want.
And so I stayed in government because I truly believe that we need to, as government, stay out of the way as much as we can of those who are creating the wealth for this country and keeping us strong. Now, I also want to emphasize, if you're lying, cheating, or stealing, I'm going to be your worst enemy. Don't come to Utah. There's already a reputation. We used to be in Utah. Pace, you grew up here. You knew what the reputation was. We were the fraud and Ponzi capital, not just for like the United States or the world. It was like the universe, even Klingons. And people
Sean, I remember as a
galaxy.
16-year-old, 18-year-old, I remember when I came home from my mission, I remember people in my ward. Now, guys, as an LDS, somebody of the LDS faith, we have, our churches are called wards, right? I had people in my ward leaving Utah, Sean, because of how many Ponzi schemes were going on inside of Utah. It was disgusting.
You know, it was remarkable to me too, because I'm not from Utah. I grew up in Hawaii and Southern California. Came to play ball in Utah, then never really played much. But I got something much better. I got a great education, and far better than that, the most amazing wife on the planet Earth. So I won the absolute lottery when it came to love and life, thanks to Utah. But I did realize right then and there, Utah is such a trusting environment. And I want to pivot into this pace because you talked about yourself, which is very brave and courageous, and I think necessary for people like you who have brands and who are so well known, or influencers, have a tendency to want to look like, hey, we're not, we're always perfect. Well, you recognized that a group of your own peers, there was an individual who took advantage of you. You lost over $1 million, as did others in that group. Why? Because of something we call affinity fraud. Affinity fraud, loosely defined, is leveraging a relationship of trust to be able to take advantage of another. And that trust and that group can be soccer moms. It could be people in pews at church. Certainly, that's one of the problems in Utah, is that a lot of people trust each other because they go to church together. On that note, by the way, that is no indictment on the faith of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints or the people or anything like that. The two largest Ponzi schemes in the history of the United States, by the way, the Madoff scheme, which I'm sure everybody's heard of, Bernie Madoff, the vast majority of those victims were Hebrew. They were Jewish because they went to church with each other. They trusted each other. They invested. And so all their guards were down. They were not verifying. They were just trusting. And they got scammed to the tune of, billions of dollars. The second largest one, the Sir Alan Stanford case, which I worked on, represented and defended people in, was the second largest of $9 billion. And the predominant number of victims were Bible Belt folks from Texas and Louisiana who also went to church together. And again, no indictment on their faith, their religion. It's just the dynamic of predators know that if they can gain your trust, you will be a much easier victim for them. And so they look for creative ways to worm their way in, to gain your trust. And that's why affinity fraud can apply to any type of fraud. It is a general term for using, again, and exploiting that trust, but it's so powerful. You talked about the lady because it was on your platform. She trusts automatically. As human beings, those of us who aren't sociopaths like many of the predators, and you alluded to that earlier, and I want to talk about that. For those of us who are, I'll call normal human beings, we want to trust people. And when we have commonalities and we find things that we share, we tend to believe them more, and that makes us hyper vulnerable. So the state of Utah, going back to that, you have a lot of people with similar backgrounds. They're generous, giving people who give the shirt off their back, and very trusting. And so it's a neon sign for predators. Come exploit us here. I knew that when I came into office. It was one of the priorities. I created task forces, white collar fraud units, units that were first of their kind. We created a white collar fraud registry, something that you could actually research and say, oh, this person's been convicted 3 times of offering fraud. Maybe I don't want to invest with them. Or this person's been convicted of mortgage fraud. Maybe I don't want to put my money with them. All of these types of things we did, and we started to scatter and chase these folks away like cockroaches. And I know that we did a good job because I got calls from my colleagues, AGs from Arizona and Idaho, Montana, and Nevada. And they said, hey, congrats on flushing all those cockroaches out of your state. But guess what? They all just set up shop in my state now. And can you help us? Can we work together? And of course, we tried to find creative ways to do that from a law enforcement standpoint. So for your listeners who don't know, your audience, your viewers, as the state AG in Utah, I'm the top law enforcement officer for for my state, when it comes to prosecutions, I have all of the state prosecutors under my office, but also, just like Eric, I have a whole bunch of investigators, special agents who put together these crimes and these cases, or they review these crimes, investigate them, and we put together cases that my prosecutors can then take to trial. I've got appellate lawyers that can uphold their convictions on appeal. So we're a one-stop shop, and we handle all different kinds of fraud. I could spend hours talking about each different kind. They're within the real estate, but I can't name them all to you. I do have lists that I've kind of compiled, and we can go over a few, but man, I've got so much to say, and we don't have that much time. So I'll step back for a second, Pace, let you take this where you want to go. But I want to warn everybody out there to continue to be vigilant and try to be a voice of warning to their friends and their neighbors and others, so that we can protect each other. But I also want to, Pace, if I can, thank them for helping to make America so great and strong. As the son and grandson and great-grandson of immigrants who came to this country to try to live the American dream, my dad to escape a dictatorship, his dream was to be able to do what so many of you out there are doing. And he, because of the freedoms that we take for granted too much, I think, in this country, he was able to build his own empire and build a family and build his American dream. And when I see what you all are doing out there, I want to take my hat off to you. I want to thank you. I want you to keep doing it the right way. It's not worth it to win the wrong way. You're going to get caught someday. It's not worth the heartache. It's not worth what that does to your soul, but it's also not worth going up against me and others by cheating, lying, stealing. But win the right way. Keep doing what you're doing. Listen to people like Pace Morby, who goes the extra mile and takes the extra steps, because we're up against some serious threats. You and Eric talked about things like AI, which just scares me to death, and deep fakes and audio clones and the stuff that we're having to contend with now.
Are you guys seeing some of that stuff pop up yet?
Oh, no, not pop up. It's here. And it is, I'm telling you, I don't know how we're going to handle this, Pace, because the criminal justice system relies on evidence that, firsthand witness testimonies. Well, what if that witness is witnessing something that's not even real? Videos that we used to be able to rely on. Audio clips, we can't rely on entirely. And so, by the way, because I came from tech and invested in a lot of tech, it's imperative that we build guardrails right now into AI. I may not be where Elon's at, the end of the world is coming, the rise of the machines, but I do believe what Elon preaches, which is, if we don't architect safeguards into the infrastructure of AI as a community and hold each other accountable, we will be where we are with social media. And again, I've invested in social media companies. I've defended them. I've represented them. I'm suing some of them right now. I filed 3 days ago a massive case against TikTok for the state of Utah for lying to parents, telling them that the platform's safe, when TikTok very knowingly manipulates children, leveraging their powerful algorithms and AI to keep, it's hard enough for adults. Adults have difficult time disengaging from TikTok. Our young kids stand no chance, and they're exposed to child sex abuse materials. They're being groomed and hit by predators on the platform. Their self-esteem has plummeted. They're ideating suicide, all this stuff that I'm dealing with because we did not put enough safeguards and build those into social. If we don't do that with AI, not only on a law enforcement side, but a health, welfare side, we're going to be in big trouble, Pace.
I imagine you guys are probably having to hire some experts in the field to try and bring them onto your guys' task force in order to deal with that kind of stuff. Because I can imagine, just as simple as a voice recording of somebody saying, well, Pace said such and such, and here's my voice recording of proof, could put somebody in prison if it was believed to be true, right? Whether it's fraud or some sexual harassment thing or whatever else, those simple things could put somebody in prison if somebody really wanted to target them.
Yeah.
Are you guys finding experts in the field, and are you attracting them onto your guys' team?
We are, and we're always on the lookout. You know, we can only afford, state budgets are slim. Some are volunteers, but we do need them. We need them to verify what's real, authentic, what are fakes. But let me give you an example, Pace. Since we're talking about fraud, there's been a proliferation of these types of cases. Just in the last several months, my office has been hit by a number of these types of cases, or we've read about them from our sister agencies, using deep fakes, audio clones. Since you mentioned audio clones, I'll use one from that realm. So this is how the scam goes. A wife is with her girlfriends on a cruise, enjoying a high school reunion or what have you. They encounter the scammer or fraudster at the pool. He engages them in a little bit of banter, chit chat. What he's doing, though, is he's profiling their voice patterns by recording them so that he can mimic their voice afterwards without their knowing. While the women are in the pool, he quickly grabs the cell phone of the wife. Now he's able to contact a husband, and he tells the husband that he has his wife, and if the husband doesn't immediately wire over a certain amount of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars, could be more, that he will hurt or kill the wife. Now he's got the voice synthesizer in the back that plays back a very credible sound. And she's saying, "Honey, please, I don't know what happened. So sorry. I don't know what happened, but I'm stuck. I can't help." He tries to text her to see, is this real or not? He can't reach her because she's in the pool, doesn't even know her phone's stolen. And lo and behold, he wires the money once it hits. By the time, when I say wire the money, at any point in any of these fraud, scams, or schemes, it's gone. That money is almost untraceable and irretrievable. When you look at the amount of, we call it restitution, it's minuscule. It's like 0.5% that we are ever able to recover. So instead of building a lot more ambulances at the bottom of the proverbial chasm or cliff, that's why I want everyone here to be so proactive about trying to build more fences up at the top of the cliff, create more awareness, be more savvy themselves, have better hygiene when it comes to computers and investments and wires. Everything that you said about don't ever wire anything outside of a title company escrow, that's absolutely gold. I 1000% back that up. Trust, verify before you invest. I think it was a Russian aphorism that President Reagan sort of adopted, talking about the Cold War. Trust, but verify. Even if they're your friends, even if they're your family, even if they're in your investment group or you've known them for however many years, treat them, maybe not face to face, but be skeptical. Treat them like the enemy, if you will, and go investigate, go do your diligence before you wire anything. If your spidey senses are tingling whatsoever, trust them, because they're likely doing that for a reason. Have professionals that you can reach out to help you verify. Even sophisticated people get scammed every day. I have legislators from my state legislators, very sophisticated people, who will call me and say, "AG, I think I'm pretty sure this is a scam, but just in case, it's such a great deal. And I really am interested." And I'm like, "No, it's too good to be true. It is a scam. Thank you for calling me. Don't invest. Don't send your money, because I will not be able to get it back."
What an amazing thing is that maybe everybody in here can't call Sean Reyes, obviously, and you physically couldn't handle that if that was the case anyway. But utilizing somebody as a backstop to verify, or at least have a second look at things like, "Hey, what do you think about this deal? I'm about to wire money," might be a good rule to add for you guys, and say, "Hey, I'm about to loan $20,000 to this person on this deal." Probably a good idea for you guys to verify, or maybe not even verify. Just have somebody else look at it and go, "Oh man, it seems too good to be true." Sean, are you Are you seeing a big wave of things in the real estate world there in Utah? I know you have a team underneath you that run these types of things. Are you guys seeing some of the same things that Eric is seeing?
Yeah, a lot of the same things that Eric talked about. I don't want to be redundant or repetitive. And honestly, if you just looked up real estate frauds or scams, the first 4 or 5 articles that pop up, I've got some of them right here. I was looking at them and verifying that, yep, we're seeing a lot of this. You can read those. Before I'm going to read a couple just to you to talk about the types of scams that we're seeing. But the one that I have seen the most has been developer scams. So developers will target owners that have or underdeveloped properties and come to them and say, hey, let's partner together. Let's JV. I'm a developer. I'll show you all these different great things I can do. Your property you're underutilizing. You take out the loan that we'll need against your property so that we can do all this development. You give me the $1 million, and then we'll make however much together. And of course, as soon as the money's given, that person's in the wind. They're gone, and the owner's left holding the bag. And there's not much recourse.
These people got to be using fake names. Now, Sean, I only have you about 15 more minutes. That person, right? The person that does the developer scam, not that one specifically, but just these types of people. When I was on that plane with you flying out to go visit Donald Trump out there, you talked to me about a handful of scams and white collar crimes that were going on, and really talked about the psychology of some of these people as if they don't have a mechanism in their mind that even tells them that these things are wrong. Is that what you see time and time and time again?
I do. I say this somewhat tongue in cheek, but I also mean it somewhat seriously. And I used to say, when my kids were young, I'd rather have a convicted murderer watch my kids than a lot of these white collar fraudsters, scammers, and schemers. And why would I say that? And maybe that's an inarticulate way to say that, but I want to make the point that so many of them, not all of them, I think some of them are good people who make a mistake and then are too embarrassed to own up to it, and then they double down, and before they know it, they're down a rabbit hole of fraud and scams. But many of them are sociopaths. They don't feel emotion like we do. They don't care about whether somebody, an adult, a little child, is harmed, hurt. There is no emotion. They're devoid of that. They're not dumb. They're brilliant in many cases. So they know how to not get caught. They know how to feign emotion. They know how to pretend and play on other people's emotion. And so it's almost like a mutant power that they have, because they know exactly how we'll react and respond. Pace, if all of your viewers right here, if there was a baby in the middle of the road and they saw a car coming and they thought, I can go get that baby, run and save it, I'm sure every single one of them would. Here's an example from the border, which is not totally relevant to this topic, but I've been down there a number of times, and there's human trafficking coming across, and drugs in the billions of doses, and organized retail crime and theft, the cartels. But one of the tactics that the cartels use when our law enforcement assets are in hot pursuit, say on the Rio Grande there, on boats, fast boats, is they'll throw a baby over in the water, an innocent live child, knowing that law enforcement will have to stop to recover the child, of course, to protect it, keep it warm. And in the meantime, they take off. I analogize that to these white collar fraudsters, scammers, and schemers, because they will leverage psychology like that all of the time. They do not care who they're hurting or how much.
So they're basically doing good things as leverage to do bad things. And the only reason they would do a good thing
often.
Yeah. They're doing a good thing because it's a tool to get people to drop their guard. They recognize human patterns in emotions, even though they don't necessarily have them themselves.
Absolutely. And these cases play out all the time. I think maybe I mentioned to you in Utah, one of the popular scams or schemes, depending, it could be related to real estate, it could be related to charity, it could be related to other types of investment. But what they will do, they being the predators, the sociopath, is they will pick somebody very credible in the community. Let's say it's a pastor, a rabbi, an LDS bishop, somebody that everybody knows and trusts in the community. This person baptized my kids. This person married us. We love them. And what they'll do is they'll be the mark. They'll select them. The predator will give them actual real returns. So this person.
This is how I lost my $1.1 million, Sean.
Yeah, no, it's a sophisticated scheme. So don't, feel bad, but many other people have fallen prey to this. But this person is showing you, right? Pace is like, look, I'm getting 10% a month. This is
They literally showed me 6 months of returns at 20+% every single month. They showed me their bank account. They said I pulled the money out.
Yes.
Yeah, they said I bought a boat with it. I bought this with it. Here's real documentation. It was real. It was not fake. It was real, except that they're doing exactly what you're telling me.
Yep. And look how sophisticated you are, and look how sophisticated your partners were who fell to that scheme. We're all potential victims. And by the way, we're all just one cataclysmic financial decision away from, being homeless as well. So I think we ought to be so grateful and so, appreciative of what we have and where we live in America, not because America is any better inherently than any other country, or we're not more deserving than anyone else. We're just so much more blessed. And I am grateful, Pace, that you are actually raising awareness with your entire community about this. I wish this is one of those things like human trafficking that I love to sound the alarm about, because too few people realize the pervasiveness of this. And they may not realize that they could lose everything that they've built up by one or two really poor decisions, but innocent ones, because they're trusting, or like you, they thought they saw real returns. So on something like that, run that by your lawyer again, run that by your advisor, make sure there's another set of eyes on anything significant like that. I don't want to create more work for you, Pace, but I think it'd be awesome if you had a hotline for some of your folks. I created one for human trafficking in the state of Utah. So when we have big events like, the Olympics or Sundance, and there are lots of visitors, people can call us and say, I don't know if this is really trafficking, but I something seems off and amiss. What a powerful tool if you had something like that there. Maybe it's Mel, maybe it's somebody else.
Well, there's two things that we've done. I hired a guy in my community. His name is Beau, Beau. And I brought him on my team full time, and all he does is verify deals for people. So people go, what do you think about this deal? Can you underwrite it? Will you look at it? Am I putting money into a good deal? And if it's not a good deal, can you tell me how to fix it? So that team member cost me $15,000 a month. That's how important I think it is for people to have a backup, to have somebody to verify and to invest or before they invest. And it's also why I went to Mel, is because Mel came from the government background. And she said, that's all I did, is I did investigative work for the Army and for the military. I want to bring my expertise to the table, and I want to help you guys do all of this stuff, which is why she built that website. I think everybody needs a backstop. And the fact that you have a hotline tells me a lot about where you guys are as a state of Utah. It's unbelievable what you guys are doing. Now I have my friend Armand I don't know if you can see Armand. Can you see Armand, Sean?
Yes, I see Armand there. Hi,
Okay,
Armand.
so Armand is a Berkeley graduate.
Go Bears. I played for Cal for 2 years, by the way.
Wow.
So
Sure.
You went to Berkeley?
yeah, from BYU undergrad, a very conservative environment, to Berkeley, not quite as conservative an environment there. Yeah, at BYU, they had an honor code. Like, I couldn't take a test right now because this facial hair is too much. It was, deemed to be not clean cut enough. And so, Pace, at BYU, I went to Berkeley and I took like my first test, and I was asking the proctor about, what kind of dress code do you have? And are my shorts long enough? And is this okay? And he finally just said, you want the clothing optional waiver? And I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, oh, if you want to take the test nude, you can, but you got to sign this like legal release and stuff and everything. And I'm like, oh, I guess I'm not in Provo anymore, Pace.
Oh yeah.
Armand, sorry, I cut off your question. What do you want?
Well, actually, Armand is in our community. Armand's Berkeley grad, so obviously hyper intelligent guy, and
Berkeley. It's just, it goes.
This is how it is. It's how it is. So one of the things that Armand does for me is he's become one of my friends, but I also will say stuff like, hey, Armand, let's go look at the legalities of a subject to real estate transaction or a seller finance transaction. And he'll go down the wormhole and finding SEC violations and this and that and whatever else around raising capital. And he'll deep dive. And when I told him today that I was going to have Sean Reyes on, he said, oh my gosh, I would love to meet Sean Reyes. And I said, I'll do one better for you. You know, we've donated, I think our community has donated now $500,000+ to Tim Ballard's organization just recently. And I said, look, you know, Sean Reyes does ops in Utah. He'll let us maybe ride around for a day, do something kind of cool for a couple hours. And Armand's like, oh my gosh, I would love to do that. Is that still an open invitation for me and Armand to come hang out for a day?
Hey, so we've invited media, legislators, influencers, and business leaders to come out with law enforcement. It's a safe environment. I mean, we don't let you run in and kick down doors, but we let you come out and see how professional, how prepared, how careful law enforcement is. It's a good way for us to educate the public, not only about law enforcement to support them, but also the types of cases, how complex they are, what we need to do, how difficult they are to put together, whether it's an organized retail crime case, which is costing, you know, billions and billions to the retail sector, or it's a human trafficking case or guns and drugs. So yes, the invitation is open. You can coordinate with my law enforcement team and they will get you out like I said, we have with others in the past. And we can also put you into a simulator, a virtual reality simulator. We created this to be able to de-escalate violence and to teach our law enforcement officers how to better handle situations ranging from a school shooting down to even just an interaction with somebody who's homeless or an autistic child on the street, to make sure that they use only the necessary force or no force at all. And if they have to use deadly force, that they're trained, that they understand the timing, what's required, the ramifications. And so we also put influencers into this environment. We train thousands of federal, state, county, city, tribal partners in law enforcement every year. But this is a 300-degree raised platform, surround sound. We use real Glocks. They've been retrofit CO2, so they have felt recoil. They're laser guided. The brilliance of it is we can change the scenario. So depending on how you're using your voice, depending on the language you use, how you're de-escalating and talking to a suspect or sorry, it says my connection's unstable. I hope it stabilizes.
We still hear you.
Or dealing with a hostage. We can change it. It's not static. It's immersive and really a great tool. I wish I had some components to actually walk you through white.
Well, guys, while he's got his internet paused, let's do him a favor. Go look in the side chat right now. Sean Reyes, Utah is his Instagram. Can we all go give him some love, please? Go over to Instagram, take a moment. Let's give him 30 seconds or so. If he doesn't come back, he doesn't come back. He delivered a great message today, shared some great information and insight for us. But go over to Instagram at Sean Reyes, Utah. He's become a personal friend over the last year. He's been super helpful in our business. And super grateful that he came in to chat with us today. We actually, just so you guys know, I asked Sean, I said, hey, Sean, can I pay you to come and speak? And he says, no, I will speak, but I do have something I'm raising money for. And so our community, the Sub 2 and Gator community, actually donated money to one of his charities today for him to come in. And he would have come in for free, and he was going to. He just asked if we would donate, and we did. Just want to let you guys know, everybody in Gator, everybody in Sub 2, thank you for that. Super helpful. He was very grateful for that as well. So Armand, looks like you and I are going to be hanging out in Utah, maybe going. Does anybody want to like come and spend the day with me and Sean Reyes in Utah, like sometime maybe in the springtime? Anybody want to come out? Maybe I'll do a contest where I'll fly somebody out, come spend the day with me, Armand, and Sean Reyes going on a couple of ops. I would invite more people, but I got to have a spot for Eric, our video guy, to come out and film it as well. So that'll be a lot of fun. Carly texted me and said that Mel Palmer can make it. You guys want Mel Palmer to come in and talk about trustverifyinvest.com? Would you guys want Mel to come up and spend a little bit of time to chat with me? Wasn't originally planned, and so I wanted to make sure I had your guys' permission to deviate for a moment, because I think the biggest thing people are going to ask is like, well, how do I know if I'm going to lend money to somebody, or I'm going to JV with somebody, I'm going to borrow money from somebody even, right? Or I'm going to work with a hard money lender. And I had somebody in here go, oh, Pace, what you're trying to create with Trust Verify Invest.
Jumping back in, guys. I'm jumping.
Oh, there he is. Sean, you back?
I'm back. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Awesome. Let's go.
Amazing. The cool thing is that you're in Vegas right now speaking, and you took some time for us today. So I just want to say thank you.
No, we had a keynoted this awesome conference there, and we're doing some amazing things with the military here. Thank you for those of you who supported our film Sound of Freedom. I've got a foundation back home in Utah that is doing a lot of great work, also rescuing folks from all different, types of hell, including Afghanistan. Right now, we're working with the hostages who are there from Israel and other countries. Pace, I wish I had more time to go over so much.
We'll do a lot together, brother. I think what we got to do is keep doing these maybe once or twice a year. We get together and do a live and get 5,000 to 10,000 people to show up to these, and we keep educating people on the scams and the fraud that's going on, and also the liberation of our children and all the other things at your office and what you're working on with Tim Ballard and all those other organizations. I would love to hear a lot more of that for sure.
Thank you. And for those of you who are, who are politically minded, again, I'm not going to be partisan here and talk about, Republicans or Democrats. What I want to encourage you to do, because I think there are people of goodwill on all sides of the political spectrum. I think there are great Americans, again, in all parties. But I do think we should look for people who are supportive of the business community, who are aggressive when it comes to fighting crimes like white collar crimes. Because I'll be honest, there are a lot of district attorneys right now in our country who have a particular ideology, and they won't prosecute these crimes. They say they're victimless. They don't hurt anybody. And I'm here to tell you that they are equally devastating and destructive as violent crimes. They're apples and oranges. I'm not saying they're the same thing, but let me give you an example. I used to fight MMA coming up. I was a boxer, and then I trained MMA. This side of my eye right here is still held together by a plate from one injury. That might have been from basketball for all I know, but fought, trained. I could recover from a physical injury and be back fighting within a couple of weeks, even a really serious one. If I lost all of the money that I had, and if my loved one, my spouse, my sweetheart, my wife needed help now medically, and I couldn't be able to help her because I'd lost everything, to me, that would be a bigger failure. It was so devastating. I've argued with judges about this to say, I'm not comparing them exactly, but in their own way, they're equally demoralizing and devastating. And we need to elect people at all levels, from DAs and attorneys general, and people that appoint a United States Attorney General to be aggressive on the border, to attack not just human trafficking and not just drugs, but white collar fraud and crime. Tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars are lost. And imagine what your group, Pace, could do with that money, instead of going into the pockets of scammers and schemers and offshore accounts and funding more crime. Imagine the power of good that it could do, building more businesses and helping more charity and more NGOs and solving some of the big social problems and issues we have, feeding the hungry, helping the homeless, do so much more. That's why we need aggressive people in office. So I'm not promoting myself. I am running for election, and sometime we can talk about how that process works in 2024 for reelection. But my plea is for you all to get active, be supportive of those who truly love the rule of law. My father came to this country because of the rule of law, because he said, son, if you wake up in America and you have your health and you know your family's safe, everything else is gravy. Because he came from a country where the Constitution had been stripped and their liberties, and he couldn't rely on that. He said, here, if I'm strong enough, I can get on my knees and pray like everything depends on God, and I can go out and work my tail off 2 or 3 jobs and work like everything depends on me. And as long as my family's safe, I know that I have the rule of law to protect me in America. I'm going to live the American dream. That is at risk today, Pace. There are a lot of people who don't want that, who believe that America and Americans are irredeemable and that we're bigots, and that that capitalism is not a system that is sustainable and will support us. I'm here to tell you that I've been, like many of you probably, around the world, and I've seen a lot of other systems. Ours may be imperfect, but it's the best of the imperfect systems. And we are still a light to nations around the world. And we should not give up hope for America. You all make us stronger. I pray for you. Keep me and my team, especially my law enforcement team, in your prayers, please. Pace, God bless you, brother. Thank you.
God bless you, brother.
And I so appreciate you. I love your team too.
Thank you, brother. We are big fans of you. Everybody in the comments, give this man some freaking love, man. You lit the world on fire right now, man. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. God bless you all. Mahalo,
Thank you, brother.
Aloha to all my Hawaiian brothers and sisters out there, and all the other Asian Pacific, Hispanics, and everybody else. That's what makes America great and strong. We love you. Pace, I hope you have me back soon, please.
We will, brother. Thank you so much for taking the time. Go crush it on your stage tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Guys, give that man a follow on Instagram. Go take a couple of minutes with him. Take a moment, as Carly brings up Mel Palmer here in a minute. Go take a moment. Sean Reyes, Utah. Ooh, Mel Palmer. Hi.
Hi.
Wow. She is here to hang out with us. So, Mel, did you see any of the live that we were talking about with all the fraud?
I sure did.
Does anybody want to know how to protect yourself from fraud a little bit more than maybe Tracy or other people? Anybody want to know a little bit more? Now, I was talking about your website, trustverifyinvest.com, and some people are like, hey, it's redirecting. You have your domain name that you built is cardinal-creative.com. Is that correct?
That's correct.
What's your back story? Like, why should we listen to you?
Yeah. So my backstory is I've been in the Air Force now for going on 17 years. It was 16 years in July. So I guess, yeah, just over 16 years. In that time, I was a federal agent for the Air Force for 7 years. And so I did criminal investigations for DoD related activities, went to the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center. And I was also, in my civilian capacity, when I got out of the military, a behavioral research scientist that studied the intersection of like criminal and personnel issues.
Interesting. Some people are saying you are not old enough to have been in the Air Force for 17 years.
Yeah. However old you think I am, just add 10 years. It's my round face.
You know what it is? It's probably that healthy California humidity right there in Monterey, California, where you're at.
No, yeah. I'm not originally from California, but I've chosen it. I know a lot of people would not choose it, but something about the view. I'm from Wisconsin.
It's all the Wisconsin lakes, then, yeah. Apparently.
It's all of my farm child labor.
I love it. Okay, so you do live in Monterey. I remember this because I tell you every time we hang out, I go, that's where I got married, right?
Yeah, in Carmel.
I'm so proud of it. It's such a beautiful part of the country. I also am a little bit mad at Monterey just because that's where John Denver died.
Oh, yes, that's right. You have told me that one as well.
Are you old enough to know who John Denver is?
You also ask me this every time. Yes.
A lot of people don't know that John Denver did not die in the Rockies, my friends. He died in Monterey, little bay right there in a freaking plane that he didn't put enough fuel in. So not verifying things will actually take your life, which is a super sad story if you guys actually look at it. Mel, what are you working on now? What does trustverifyinvest.com do? Like what can you do and how can you help?
Yeah. So there's two parts. There's where I am right now, and there's where we are going together. And right now I am offering two suites of service. Essentially, one is if you have a deal right now that you're trying to vet, we are looking at the deal, the person, and verifying the information. I always tell people there's two schools of thought that are commonly preached and hammered into your heads, that you think you have to vet the deal, not the person, or you have to vet the jockey, not the horse. And I say both of those are partially correct and partially incorrect, because you can't just look at one part. You have to look at the holistic deal, the person, and the information. And so,
yeah, because even a good deal sometimes turns bad, and the jockey is the person that will make sure you get paid back, right? Like I've had deals in the past, sad but true. I've had deals that I borrowed money and the deal ended up losing money. And if I just went to my person that invested with me and I said, I'm so sorry, right? I'm so sorry that you're just not going to get your money back. Well, guess what I just did? I soured my entire future, in my personal opinion, because your reputation is everything in business. So I paid those people back, even though I had to pay them back on other profits on other deals. And so for me, I wanted my deals to stand on their own. And I also wanted my reputation to stand alone as well. You couple those together and that makes a total package, right?
correct.
And even a good deal will turn into a bad deal. It will happen. The economy, I'll tell you a couple of good examples. Okay. 2022, I told everybody in 2022, in January of 2022, I said, stop doing fix and flips. The market is going to turn. This wasn't 2023. This is coming up on now 2 years ago. I said, interest rates are going to go up. Sub 2 is going to change the game. We've all prepared for it. Sub 2 is going to be the thing. Fixing and flipping, if you're going to do it, you got to buy these deals at 40 cents, 50 cents on the dollar. And I said, more importantly, don't fund fix and flips. Well, guess what? I bought 2 deals in January of 2022. And when I bought them, they were great deals. The permits took longer than expected. The contractors went over budget. We changed things. It wasn't even the contractor's fault. We ended up going over budget, overtime. And that overtime that we took, guess what happened? Interest rates go up, less buyers in the market to afford our product. We went to go sell the properties. Okay. We went from on 5 it was not 2, it was actually 5 deals. On 5 deals, we stood to make about $500,000 on those 5 deals. By the time those projects were done and ready for the market, it was the opposite. It was negative $500,000. It was $1 million swing on those projects. $1 million swing. So what did I do? Well, I'm the jockey. Even though the horse is crippled, I'm going to drag that freaking horse across the finish line. That is why you need the jockey and you need the horse. The horse went lame. The jockey got his ass off the horse, dragged it across the finish line. What we did is we refinanced those deals into higher interest rates. I got all my private money lenders, all their money back, and I had to come out of pocket to save those deals. It happens in real estate. Right. And so if you're not looking at the jockey and at the horse, okay, here's what's going to happen. Your jockey's going to go, well, bad deals happen. Sorry.
Yep.
Or, okay, even a good deal can be mismanaged by a bad jockey. Okay. I see so many people they don't know how to hire contractors. They don't know how to manage the permit process. They over improve how many people I see over improve the property? That's not even the thing you got to worry about. The thing you got to worry about is this. We had a guy, and this hurts me to say, but I have to be fully transparent. The more our community becomes the industry leader in real estate, which it is, the more we are a shining light. Guess what? Sean Reyes said it. He said the LDS community in Utah became a neon sign for scammers. And so the cooler we become, the more prominent and bigger leaders we become in this industry, people come in here. Guys, we fight it on a daily basis. I have 5 people on the sub 2 team and 2 people on the Gator team. 7 people on our team. Their entire job is to remove bad actors. Okay. That's the first filter is when we go through the enrollment process to get you in. The second filter is now watching and seeing how people operate. I have 7 people full time on this. And so when you see somebody acting a certain way, right, you can email the team. If you're a sub 2 student, you email support at sub 2. If you're a Gator, you email support at manifestu.com. Okay. And you say, hey, this person's doing a certain thing. We'll pull those people the freak out. We don't want them. We want to filter them, etc. However, there are people, no matter how good we are, there are the people that will do these kind of things. I had a guy, this was now roughly 3 years ago. He raised about $500,000 from 7 leaders. How did he do this? He did exactly what Sean Reyes said. He said he went to the one guy that was the most trusting person in the community, not besides me, Affinity fraud. He went to them. He did a couple things with them that gave him a return. That guy then went and told the other 6 people. They raised $500,000. Okay. I'm going to tell you guys something. This is scary. And I'm so sorry to even admit this. I almost don't want to admit it. It's embarrassing. This guy they all broke the rule, by the way. Do you know about this story, Mel?
I do. Yeah, keep
Okay.
going. And I would love to continue on with this.
This guy convinced my leaders in sub 2 to wire money to him directly. They knew the rules. They knew 100%. These were leaders. They knew. And when I talked to them, I said, wait, so you're telling me that and before I even said the words, they cut me, all of them cut me off. They go, yep, we broke the rules. We were so excited about this deal that we wired money to him personally. Now, guess what happens? Ingrid Hernandez, she said, what is affinity fraud? Tell me you showed up late without telling me you showed up late. That's how you do it. You ask that question, you knucklehead.
Ingrid was here. I saw her. She must have stepped
He
out.
went on about affinity fraud for like 4 minutes. Ingrid? Oh, she was, okay, got it. Affinity fraud, just so you guys know, is that you go to somebody that is prominent in the community and you show them real returns. This is how I lost one. Guys, you want to hear a really scary story? I'll tell you a second story and then we'll go. Do you guys want to hear these stories or no? Okay. So here's what ends up happening. He goes and gives one of our prominent leaders a return on another couple of deals. That prominent leader then goes and tells 6 people. Affinity means I'm giving you a good feeling and I'm somebody of prominence. Therefore, that person is selling the next people on you. That's what a Ponzi scheme is about. So he goes and gets $500,000 sent to him personally, not because they trusted that guy, but because that guy got somebody else that was prominent in the community to basically pitch his deal. 500,000. Well, it wasn't quite 500,000. It was in the 400,000s, but basically it was close to 500,000. The money goes to him personally for a multifamily deal. And the multifamily deal, guess what? Fell apart. So when they all said, well, no problem, send us the money back, he said, I'm sorry, but I put the money in my other businesses temporarily so I could build up my other businesses. I'll get that money back to you. Don't worry. Then we found out that that guy was using a fake name and was actually going to prison for pedophilia. He got in by using fake names, fake credentials, everything else.
This is when I tell everybody that I didn't get a background check to be in this community, and either did you, because of that same story.
Right. Yep. See, Rachel says, I remember this guy. And I ended up hiring 3 more people on the enrollment team to just verify, but I can't. Right? At the end of the day, I have an education platform. in my opinion, I'm the greatest educator of real estate currently. Maybe there's better educators before me. There's going to be better educators than me in the future. Right now, I'm the guy. I'm the only guy in all of real estate. As far as it's gone back and as far as it'll go, I'm the only guy that's built an actual community. People that are doing deals with each other in abundance. People that are helping each other out in abundance. However, because of that, there's a neon sign on our community.
That's right.
And so we have to have our hackles up. We have to have our spidey senses up, and we have to verify even internally. Okay, I did this big Zoom about a month ago, and I said, guys, we have to verify. We have to do all these things. You guys want to know how I got scammed $1.1 million? Here's how I got scammed. I don't invest in anything besides real estate. I was at I want to say, somebody just actually typed his name in the side chat. Actually, I'll just tell you. I was at a mastermind of Grant Cardone's. And it was in a room of less than 20 people. The person that was the predator used that room and his proximity to Grant Cardone to get into that space and start showing people, look at this, look at this, look at this. Sharon says he's being indicted. No, he's not. He just got released of all charges, just so you know. Sharon, stay up to task. All of the charges have been dropped. Okay. Yeah, go watch it. Go look on his Instagram. Okay. However, the guy that was in that room used the proximity and the affinity scam to find somebody else in that room that this is the, I almost don't want to tell you the truth because it's going to make this person's legacy. And I won't say their name, but if I tell you what was going on with this person, you'll know exactly who I'm talking about. The person that we watch, I can't share. It's not their fault. They were used. How did he even get in the room? Long story. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The point of the story is that there are people there's a scam artist right here right now. The mathematical odds is that your church has scam artists. Can we all agree that after this, we all agree that there's probably somebody at your church, as much as you love that their tuna casserole is the best after the revival and that their funeral potatoes are the best at the baptisms, they might be a scammer. And as much as you want to trust them, you got to verify before you invest. Is it true? Do we all kind of have a feeling? If I go to Walmart and there's only 30 people in Walmart, chances are probably a high likelihood that there's some scammers. If I go down to a pawn shop and there's people lining up selling things at a pawn shop, I would probably say the likelihood and the percentage of scam artists is probably higher than your church. Your church is at least one level of a filter, right? There's a community of people that watch each other's backs, but that's where smart, long con artists go to prey on people and their love and their trust and their faith in each other. So I'm not criticizing your church. I'm not criticizing any of these places. I'm letting you know that Sean Reyes of the Attorney General of Utah just told you straight up that is the number one place he sees scam. The largest Ponzi scheme in the world was the Jewish faith because they were so trusting inside of their community. The second largest one is my AI is playing games with me right now. The second largest one was church goers in other communities in the South. And then Utah was the largest hub of all these micro things because there's so many church goers. Why is that? Pansy says it's giving me anxiety. It gives me anxiety too, but guess what? Can't stop us. We just have to put up our filters and we have to make sure we do our job.
That's right.
Okay. So the girl that I basically looked at that was in this room at Grant Cardone's, Grant Cardone had nothing to do with this, straight up. I'm just letting you know that I was in that room and I felt safe being in a room of 20 people, very small. We met there for 3 days, one time. And then a second time we met 3 months later, same group of people. And by the time I was in the second meeting, the person who was showing me their account had already gotten a bunch of people in that room, a bunch of returns. And I was like, okay, cool. And here's where I got double scammed. Basically, I sent social proof. Yes. Affinity scam. Okay. Yep. There you go. Edward LaRose says Pineda missed being scammed by a table. Pineda was in that room with me and he asked me, he's like, how did that happen? I go, bro, you were sitting at the other table. You didn't see what was going on. You never invested. And he goes, thank goodness I was sitting at a different table because I probably would have got sucked into that too. Yeah, I got scammed by the person in that room. Okay. And Jamil did too. And some of the biggest names in real estate, there was that room of 20 people probably lost $8, maybe $9 million. Here's how bad it was. I go, all right, I'm not one to get suckered in because I've been conditioned by the horniness of a deal. I'm like, I'm not going to get horny on a deal. I now have filters. I have a family office. I have people that verify things before I dump my money in things. Ryan at Do Wealth verifies everything I send my money to. He says, I don't like this deal. I looked at the agreement. I have a team of people that I spend money on that verify this. This was a month before I hired Ryan. I go and I wire 500 grand. And about a month later, I'm like, where's my check? And they go, well, the people that have $1 million in, they're actually getting their money faster because of this algorithm, such and such and such. So they got me to send another $500,000. But the way they said it was a lot differently. And so you guys got to understand that. Bill King says, you said not to wire money. Bro, Bill, I swear to you, Bill, if you are not just sarcastic, I'm going to find you and karate chop you in the fudging knee. Bill is not paying attention. Bill,
We have processes now.
I'm telling you something that happened to me in the past so that what I'm telling you today has some gravity to it and that I'm not perfect. Bill Nye the science guy? Bro, relax. Of course I've made mistakes. Do you want me to just pretend like I'm perfect? Bill, he's been making these comments the whole time. I got, Carly, will you get Bill out of here, please?
Sorry, bye-bye.
Find Bill and get him out of here. I can't handle another comment when people aren't paying attention. Peace, Bill. Oh my gosh. So it is important. This stuff is important. Don't come to me and say, guys, I wired money to somebody personally. I made the mistake. I know the rules. This is why we make the rules. Okay. So Mel, you just told me where you currently are, right? You can look at people's deals. You can verify the jockey, right?
That's right.
Are you currently going through with Molly and like verifying all my stuff?
She just contacted me. I need to respond.
Okay, cool. So like for me, I want to be able to say, you can, if somebody ever says, I want to lend money to you, I'm going to say, reach out to Mel and make sure that I am who I say I am. I don't have any priors. I don't have any criminal things. I don't have people I owe money to. People can't come out there and say I stole from them. If there's a black mark on my name, I want to verify and I want to be able to stand up and go, yeah, I screwed up here. Or I screwed up there. Cool. That's fine. Just own it. But I also want to verify that when I'm on YouTube and I'm even in our community, I say, I own this, I own this, I own this. I think it's pretty freaking important for people to be verified.
That's right.
So you're saying that you can verify the jockey and you can verify the horse. Can you tell me the horse is the deal, the jockey is the person? What are you doing? Like, I don't need to know like deep details. Somebody in here that's an engineer is going to go, what software are you using? And do you use 85 pens? And what computer are you using? And databases. There's somebody in here that's going to lose their mind over it.
Yes. So when we look at the deal, we're just looking at the deal as it's offered, the loan to value ratio, the security mechanisms, those kinds of things, right? I don't need to underwrite it because you already have 20 resources to go through to underwrite it, but we can do a sniff test and see, does this make sense? Moving on. Now there's the person, there's the background, education, and experience. And that's where we're looking at, one, do you have a history of a professional background of any sort?
So like, are you verified real estate agent? You're a verified, maybe a sub-2 student, a verified gator. Because there are people now in the real estate industry that say, I'm a sub 2 student. You can trust me because we've become the gold standard in the industry. So you see people even acting like a fake student because they know it will get them to open doors.
Right. And anyone can say they're a student, and you could be in the creative finance with Pace Morby group and count that as a student, but you're not a verified sub 2 student. You're just claiming that you like your Pace's YouTube videos. So.
Yeah, I get people that DM me and go, I am a student. I'm like, I don't see you anywhere in our records. What are you talking about? I was like, I'm a student of the game. I'm like, bro.
No.
Bro.
Yeah.
Bro. No.
Yeah, looking at professional licenses. So if somebody claims some sort of legitimate license, we can look at those.
So like loan officer, real estate agent, broker, hard money lenders. Like if I have a lending license, those types of things, you guys will verify those to make sure. So like, what about if let's say that I have a hard money lender that I want to talk about inside the sub 2 community, you guys can verify that a hard money lender is actually a legit company?
Yeah. And then if we can't, that's when I do a follow-up and actually interview them, talk about why we can't find their license. They have to provide it to us. And then we check with the Department of Insurance or the so we actually then will use whatever they provide us just in case they're providing us a fraudulent document, and verify with the source of information. So.
Okay, cool. I love it. How many cash deals did you do before switching to sub 2? Lyndon, I still do more cash deals than probably your cash mentor has ever done in his life per year. So I don't know. A lot. We could probably find a lot. She can jump into my Slack and just see all the deals that we're doing. Did you change your name? Were you Bill 3 minutes ago before he kicked your ass out and then you changed your name? Kill Bill. Kill Bill part 2 right now coming up. Kill Bill part 2. Get Bill. Okay, so you can verify. Okay, so let's say that I'm raising money, right? And I want to go raise $1 million, and a private money lender. If you're a private money lender and you want to make sure you're only giving money to somebody who's at least been verified, say me, say yes, especially after all this crap that we just heard from Eric and from Sean. So all of these people that are private money lenders in the side chat, right? I want to know that before I give money, I lend on a deal, I lend on whatever, I'm working with verified people. How can I know they're verified or not? Are you going to have a website? Can I email you? Can I ask them to go get verified if they're not?
Yeah, so that's the future, right? So there's what's currently being offered, and then there's the future. What we have right now is I am hosting a password protected, please, I won't get into the weeds, but a one-page site for people to have their background education.
What's it built on? What technology is it built on? Does it have 3 strands of Python running through a string of da 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 da?
Yeah, exactly. That's
who are my engineers in here that are losing their mind? And tell me you don't have an Android.
They definitely have Androids, and that's okay. So we'll host a third-party verified one-pager site of verified background education and experience, and they will be able to provide that to lenders, potential partners. They can provide that on their own. The future would be that we'd actually host this as a Yelp or a Google review or a Better Bureau of Business. And no, it's not public, but it is behind a paywall. And
I think it should be public. For me, I want my shit public.
Yes. So yours will be public for subscribers. And we can make a public page for you too.
Okay. So guys, what she's saying is that at some point in the future, she's going to make a Yelp of real estate. So you go, all right, I want to know that this private money lender, this hard, what's hard is when I first started, I even had private money lenders. I don't know if she's going to do this. I hope she does. Okay. I had a private money lender that was like, I want to pick the color of the house when you flip it. And I was like, I will not be taking your money. So like if you're a private money lender and wants to get involved in color schemes and cabinets and all that kind of stuff, that's called a partnership. It's not a private money lender. It's a partnership that you're like actively in there. For me, if you're somebody that's a wholesaler that's out there doing stupid stuff and not actually doing the business the way you're supposed to be done, I think that there should be a place where you go, this guy worked around a deal on me. This guy did this. A private money lender didn't do what they say they were going to do. I think that there should be a place where we can all verify each other personally. Anybody been around real estate long enough to actually say this to yourself where you're like, if there was only a blacklist in real estate, most of these people would not be in business.
That's right.
That's what I want. I wish you would. It's not my thing to choose, but for me, I wish Mel would call it the black card of real estate or the black list of real estate. You either have a black card, you can go anywhere and tell people, hey, this is me. Still got to do your own due diligence. Still got to make your own decision, but at least you got some of the groundwork covered, the background checks, the other. The blacklist is like, dude, this guy puts memorandums on houses that he doesn't even have under contract, like that kind of crap.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And if anybody went to Trust Verify Invest, I understand it goes to private money professional as well. If you go to the bottom, there is a wait list where you can get on the wait list to be notified of when the verified blacklist, the Trust Verify Invest site is actually up. So that is where we plan on, I say publicly, but behind a subscription, posting this information so that you can know who to trust and who not to trust. And while this is someplace you can go and write your reviews and leave your feedback, it is not just a free-for-all like Yelp. You do not get to just post a review with no verification, with no proof. It must be verified. And so that's part of the reason why it needs to be a subscription-based place, because that is not cheap. I have a certified fraud examiner on my team. I also have 2 PIs that I outsource some information or some of this work to, and we are verifying everything. You don't get to just go and say.
So guys, the website's not doing the work for her. She's using the website to give you information. She's doing the work on the back end.
Correct.
Do you understand the difference? Okay, so I don't even know what her website's built on. Python, Holy Grail, I don't know what it's called. Okay, but you are doing the work on the back end. You're actually going, like Molly's probably going to give you addresses and LLCs that say ownership and deeds and whatever else. She'll give you a
tax return, all of it.
Okay, amazing. So you'll see all that. Just so you know, I did mail out my tax returns. You know that I don't make any money, right?
Yes.
I mean, you'll see my top line and you'll see my top line, but even if it says $0, you're not going to hold that against me, right?
No. And people really get worked up about this because I'm like, there are other ways we can verify monthly income. There are other ways we can, and so we are not the loan officer that's saying you're ineligible because of what your tax return says. We are the actual investors that understand how this works. So no, we're not holding that against you. It's probably proving even more how savvy you are of how good of a jockey you are to bet on.
Yeah, if I am telling people on YouTube that I don't pay taxes because I buy enough real estate, and then I go and I pay $3 million in taxes, then I probably am an idiot and a liar. Right? So like my 2022 taxes are 0, I believe. I think we just mailed them out. By the way, guys, business owners don't do our taxes in April. We do them like late in the year, just FYI. Okay. We do this thing called an extension on purpose. Okay. So people are like, you haven't filed your taxes yet? That is correct. I don't work at a job. I work for this idiot right here. Okay. So we do our taxes in the late year. So 2022, I was told I paid no taxes. I would want you to verify that. I actually would. If I'm talking shit on YouTube and saying, man, real estate investors should pay no taxes, I think you should be like, Pace Morby doesn't do what he says he does.
That's right. Yeah. Are you who you say you are? Can you do what you say you do? I mean, because that's one of the things too, when I talk about someone's background, education, and experience, then you have to look at relevant experience, because somebody who wholesales primarily and only, that has no assets, but is getting in an Airbnb for the first time in a market that they're not familiar with, might not be a great background, education, and experience to actually support their exit strategy. So
here's, just so you know, this is my tax return from the year prior. I didn't pay any federal income tax. I got a check back after paying 0 for $2,295, and I never cashed the check just so I could hold it. Okay.
22. Sorry, what was the number?
You want the number? I don't know.
Oh,
250. The check was issued 2/15/2022, so almost 2.5 years ago, or no, a year and a half ago. You want the check number?
Oh, sorry. No. Yeah, can someone deposit it? No, how much was it?
$2,295 after paying no taxes. So
Yeah.
like
They
other
paid
people are
you.
like, I got a return too. I'm like, yeah, they gave you like 5% of all the money you sent them. I
That
sent
you
them
paid.
nothing and got $2,295 back.
That's right.
I was holding it over the little code. Like you can't take it, but there
No.
you go. So you'll verify that for me too. You'll like look at my tax returns.
Yep.
Will people want to know how much money I make? And should I tell them how much money I make, or is that not?
Yeah, it depends. It depends on the jockey. But
Because I don't tell people how much money I make.
No. So some people they don't have enough assets to actually pay. So in circumstances like that,
makes
we want to make sure that they have the personal income to be able to weather the storm, because it's not if things go wrong, it's when. So if they don't have enough assets, that's when we want to make sure that their income can support their loan.
Ellie River says, this is like $25,000 a day information. Guys, I'm going to tell you right now, the information we've given you on day 1, day 2, and day 3 is more value than you guys have paid your $25,000, $35,000, $45,000 real estate coaches. I'm telling you straight up right now. Why? I know. I paid a dude $47,500 for 1/10 of what you've been given in 3 days. Thanks for saying that. I appreciate that. I've screwed up and hired bad coaches too, but yes, this is a stale check. So maybe you can just take a screenshot. You guys can all go to the IRS and tell them that you need this check reissued. No, not a good idea. Okay. I kept this check, guys, just to prove to you. And when Jamil comes in my office, he's just like, gosh, dang it. Gosh, dang it. Okay. So, is it better to email you or is it better to go to the website?
Go to the website, because you can fill out the form and you can qualify or disqualify yourself, just depending on what you actually want. So if you go through, it says what the background checks are. It says what kinds of things are looked at when we're.
Is there a way we can email you in case we crash the site?
Last time when people said they crashed the site, they were just spelling it wrong. So guys, one, if you have a deal that you actually want to.
What's your email, Mel?
All right, it's Melissa let me just type it in here because you guys are going to type.
Okay, we're going to put it on chat first. Host. Okay. What's your email? Oh, that's good. Mel Palmer. Email Melissa at cardinal-creative.com. It's right there in the side chat. Send her an email and say, hey, I have questions. She spends the night answering people's questions, long form. Like she'll write you a chapter. She'll tell you about the Pythons. She'll tell you about all the tech. Guys, here's the tech. The tech is her background and her ability she has 2 private investigators. You have your 17 years of or your actual 7 years as experience in this exact thing. And then you have somebody else on your team that does what?
She's a certified fraud examiner. And she also was a special agent in the Air Force, but her entire career was just fraud. So she's an awesome asset.
Her entire career was fraud.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any type of fraud that Eric and Sean Reyes did not cover about real estate lending, title companies that maybe you've seen or you've heard about in our communities that we got to make aware? Or maybe, do you have any checklists to make sure that people are doing things the right way?
Yeah, so I do. If you guys go to that landing page that's got the trust, verify, invest, that has a free, you can put your information in there, and there's a free download for all sorts of things to understand. If you want to skip to the due diligence part, that's where you can check it out. I've got some freebies that I can send people if you're on that mailing list. That's like red flags to look for. But what I see in this community is often people that are not necessarily fraudulently taking on loans, but they are flying by the seat of their pants. They're building the airplane as they're flying it, and they're taking on PMLs for properties that they have zero intention of refinancing, that they have no personal assets or capability of actually paying back at their balloon payments. And they are defaulting. And unfortunately, in creative finance structures, often when you have no equity or low equity, you are putting your lenders in horrible positions, and lenders are putting themselves in horrible positions. And we have normalized this because we have come to understand that it's not always the equity, it's the cash flow, or it's the X, or it's the Y. But you forget, when you're a lender, you have a completely different set of criteria that you need to look at this as a deal or a no deal, because it might be a deal in terms of cash flow, but it is not a deal that you should be a private money lender on. And we have people that, like you were explaining, the good jockey is going to drag that horse. Well, the bad jockeys are just saying, well, I can't pay you back and I can't sell it and the property's not worth anything. So they are getting indignant. They feel very justified. They are blaming the lenders. And
what does indignant mean? Like, I don't have responsibility?
Yeah, they're just like, you are bothering me. You have the nerve to bother me. It's like they're completely flipping it. And so you really need to look at these things and understand, yes, it's a deal, but it is not a deal for a lender. So be careful and be smart and know what you're actually getting yourself into, because not everybody's a good person. And unfortunately, they've shown that when they've come to their balloon payments and failed to pay time and time again.
This is good. This is good information, guys. I'm going to give you a tip. Okay. Don't trust me. If you're lending money to me, make sure that you see my background check. Make sure you see how many assets I own. Ask me, do you offer a personal guarantee? If this deal falls apart, are you going to be able to pay me back over time? Ask me. Don't trust me. Verify me. Make sure that I'm verified. And then when you're setting up your arrangements, now, Gator and Sub 2 communities, just so you know, we have training on exactly how to set up a JV agreement. We actually have Sean St. Clair coming in. If you guys remember this training about 3 weeks ago, we had a brand new Gator that came in and she's like, Pace, I want to lend money to you. And I go, perfect. We're going to have a Sean St. Clair Zoom. Watch, I throw this up and I'm going to get balloons to pop up. Gosh, dang it. Oh my gosh. Okay. So we're going to have Sean St. Clair come in again, and he's going to work with this new Gator to loan money to me and show you guys how to ask all the right questions. We've done this training before, but he's going to come in again. It's going to be a 2-hour dedicated training. I think it'll happen the next couple of weeks. Make sure you guys are watching that training before you're getting into partnerships and getting into deals with people. Don't even freaking trust me. Don't trust me. Freaking follow the paperwork, every single person. So am I ever going to hear from another person again that says, I did a deal with so-and-so and I didn't do my paperwork, I didn't do my vetting, I didn't do my this, I didn't do my that? Am I going to hear that or no?
Yes.
Mel is going to say yes. But from you guys, am I going to hear this from anybody in here? The 1,500 people between YouTube and Zoom, am I ever going to hear that again? Only from Bill. The only person we're hearing it from is Bill.
We already killed him twice.
We already killed him twice. That guy has 9 lives like a cat. He's not even a human. If you found out and you verified him, you'd find out he's a cat because homeboy has 9 lives.
Yeah.
Okay. Only person I'd hear that from in this group, in this webinar, is Bill. Okay. I don't want to hear it ever again from anybody in here. I didn't verify the deal. I didn't verify the person. I didn't do a background check. I didn't freaking do my documents. I didn't ask the appropriate questions and watch the training. Inside the Sub 2 Community Vault and in the Gator Vault, there's a very specific training on how to JV with people. Okay. Mel, you're amazing, Gary says. Guys, do you think Mel's pretty dope? Do you guys like this? Do you think we should all have a Yelp of real estate? Can you maybe get a website name that's called Yelp of real? Oh, Melp. We'll call it Melp. Melissa's Yelp. Melp.
Yeah, the Melp. I'll say too, like,
hurry and go buy Melp.com right now, guys. Melp.
No, don't do it.
He's like, actually, that's a really good name. Cody, buy Melp.com right now.
Come on, Cody. Are you out there? There's 1,300 people in here, and now you guys all know better. So I think the really important thing is to protect other people and help, and not just turn around and immediately blame them, but be there preventative wise, like be there proactively to help new people, because this is going to continue to happen again. And I wouldn't have a business opportunity if it weren't for that. So just understand that we all know a lot more than we knew before this Zoom started. So please, like, do your part and serve the rest of the community and let people know the lessons that you've learned.
I just realized that your name is Mel Palmer, Mel P,
I am
which is
Mel,
also
yeah.
Melp. It has to be Melp to the help, or melphelp.com.
Oh no. Someone's buying the domain now.
She's like, hurry, hurry. Somebody's going to beat your ass to it. And then
Somebody buy it for me.
do you know how many people, I'm going to tell you the truth. Okay. So I had this guy, so I wrote this book, and this is what happens when you talk about shit on the internet. Okay. So I write this book, Wealth Without Cash. And I tell everybody, yeah, the title is going to be Wealth Without Cash. Somebody goes and buys every domain, Wealth Without Cash, and comes to me and goes, hey, I'll sell these to you for $100,000.
Next.
I was like, bro, I make $1 per book. Okay. How about this? I'll just donate the $1 to you on every single book, and you can just have the money. I was like, you went out of your way to freaking do that to me, you son of a bitch. Sorry. Mormons don't cuss. That's AI. I'm not really saying what I'm saying.
Right.
My Zoom is taking over and filling in the cuss words, guys. But I get it. You know, people got to be capitalistic, and I respect it. It is true. Peggy Stevens says, is that true? I'm not lying. Truly, that is true. The guy who owns wealthwithoutcash.com is not me. It was not owned 8 months ago. He bought it, and he's like, well, if you don't want to buy it, then I'm going to direct it to Amazon, and I'm going to get all the affiliate income. I'm like, bro, you'll make more money on the book than I will. I didn't write the book to make money. Okay. The book does other things for me, but I didn't make it to make $1, right? Bigger Pockets takes that money, and the publishing company takes the money and all that kind of stuff. So, Melp is taken, Effie says. Damn it.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Jonathan Daniel says, Pace, how do you protect yourself in a business funding partnership? This is a great question, Jonathan. Can I bring you up here for a second? And I'll answer that. Mel, are you okay with me bringing somebody up here?
Of course.
He's also the owner of melp.com. So we might be able to work a deal with Jonathan Daniels. Right. Jonathan, how much from melp.com? How much do we have to pay, bro?
Melphelp.com.
Hey, Pace, what's up, man?
What's up, bro? How you doing?
What's up? Remember me from Richmond?
I do, yeah.
The project I was talking to you about. Oh, it's coming along, buddy.
Amazing. So are you talking about,
are
you talking about business transactions or businesses that do real estate transactions?
No. So if we're talking about real estate, we know that our funds are sent to the title company attached to the real asset.
Right. So we get a promissory note, we get a deed of trust. We want to make sure that the arrangement I have with the person I loan money to or partnered with has a clear exit strategy in the situation that something goes bad, right? So for me, when I tell my private money lenders, hey, I'm going to borrow your money, this isn't standard, by the way. Actually, most of the time when you invest in a fund, the fund will write a document called a PPM, Private Placement Memorandum. It's thick, juicy boy. They cost $35,000 to put together. And you send that to your investor, and the investor invests with you, okay, your partner, and they sign off on this PPM saying, I know that there's a high likelihood I lose my money, and it's not your responsibility to pay me back, okay? So that's not standard. But what I do with my private money lenders, which is different than an investor. If you're an investor in me, it means you're investing in the future of this deal. It's very different than a lender. Okay. If I'm a lender, I want my money back and I want my return. Okay.
Yeah. What about more of like a partnership?
Partnership. I think a partnership is very important, Jonathan, for you to have an operating agreement that lines out roles and responsibilities and what happens if those roles and responsibilities are not met. I'll give you a great example. A couple of years ago, I was fed up with somebody in one of my businesses. Luckily, I've been through enough. I'm 40 now. I've been through enough crap that I've become callous to the emotions I have towards human beings that don't just do what they say they're going to do. When I was in my 20s and 30s, I always was like, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm not helping you enough. You're definitely not helping me with my job, and I'm still doing my tasks, but maybe it's me. And the reason you're not doing your job is because I'm not helping you. But when I got to like 38, I finally go, no, we ain't doing this anymore. And every operating agreement now, this is the operating agreement I give to sub 2 community. The operating agreement states that all I have to do, if you're not doing your job, is I have to send you an email with my attorney and say, this person's not doing their job. Here's the specifics that they're not doing. Pull them off my LLC. And
Gotcha.
2 years ago, I literally sent an email to my partner and my attorney and Cody Barton, who is my other partner. And I said, I'm not happy with this partner. Please pull him out of the LLC. I don't want to hear about it ever again. I pulled his ass out. I've done that twice in the last 2 years. So,
And the other person doesn't have to agree to it?
They already did an operating agreement. They signed the operating agreement.
Oh, it's in,
yeah.
Gotcha.
And I had a very clear, and this is why operating agreements and paperwork is so important, is because if a partner's not doing what they say they're going to do, it's the same thing in a divorce. Like a prenup is like, it's not a standard document. You go through and you go, look, I, as the person with all the money in this relationship, will not give you 50% of my wealth if we get divorced, unless I cheat on you, I lie to you, I do these things to you. If I do those things to you, then I will give you 50%. Like everything is massageable, right? Negotiable. So in an operating agreement now, standard operating agreement is I've partnered with, 5 to 6 people this year in actual business partnerships. And the first thing we do is we do something called the responsibility matrix. Okay. Yes. The equity ownership is just lost, Cody Cannon. That dumbass should have done his job. I'm sick of playing with children. I didn't get to 40 years old to freaking play with children anymore. Like I was a child. What is the old verse? It says, when I was a child, I did childish things. When I became a man, I dropped those childish things. And I can't remember the quote. Somebody can pull that up for me, please. That quote's so good.
When I was a child, I thought as a child and spoke like a child, but when I became an adult, I put away childish things.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So when somebody's like, oh, and they lost all their equity, hell yeah. And they got embarrassed, as they should. If somebody's not operating the way they should be embarrassed. I'm sorry. Does somebody in here disagree? They didn't carry their weight. In fact, when somebody doesn't carry their weight, they are pulling the company in the opposite direction. Thank you. Somebody says Corinthians 13:11. Thank you. When I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. And one of those things I put away is playing games with adults that act like children. If you're not going to do your job, that is very clearly lined out into a responsibility matrix. So Cody Barton, my partner, talks a lot about this. I think, Mel, you've gone through this with Cody, right?
I have. Yep.
Was it helpful?
It was.
You go through and you're like, okay, I clearly know what we're in charge of. I know what I'm in charge of, what Pace is in charge of, what Cody's in charge of, percentages. And if C does not wait, you read the argument, state what the breakup clauses or the buy-sell agreements, it will say what to do if doing their job.
We're doing that this
And
week.
can you also do like a sliding scale? Like if milestones aren't met, can't you and how is that determined, by the way? I'm just curious.
That's by you, Jonathan. If you and I were sitting down at a steak dinner and you say, okay, well, let's write this out on a piece of paper, right? And you had like a scale. You can literally draw a scale on a piece of paper and put it into your operating agreement and go, if you do this, then this is this and da-da-da-da-da. Happens all the time. Performance-based.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. And the problem is nobody teaches us this stuff. They go get an LLC. Go get a free LLC and set it up in your state with no anonymity and go do that. It's so dumb. Like I see people on Instagram and YouTube going, you can get a free LLC by, I'm like, okay, but what about the operating agreement? That's a $3,000 document that I give away to the community, right? To Sub2, and I give it to Gator. I give that document away to you, but it still doesn't mean it's ready for your individual partnership. You have to take that document and you have to manipulate it and change it in accordance to whatever you guys agreed to. And so many people do not even do an operating agreement, right? So they'll go, hey, your LLC and my LLC own this LLC. Great. Then they get into a fight. They come to me and they go, man, this isn't going well. I go, great, send me your operating agreement. They go, what's an operating agreement? I go, kick yourself in the face. Like, what?
Or
Right?
they have one and there's no roles and responsibilities. There's simply a manager named and some signatures at the bottom.
Yep, there you go. Joseph says, my TC's dealing with that now. Cody Kenya says, thank you for this pace. I wish I had known this back in 2014. Me too. Me too. I brought a business partner in my business 12 years ago, and I had to pull him out. It was excruciating because he went home and told his wife, you guys want to hear? Let me tell you something. I'm going to tell you something that paperwork will help you solve. When I was a contractor, I was growing. I was doing like, I don't know, $5 million a year. I'm just guessing. I don't know what it was. It was a lot. I was bringing in $100,000 to $200,000 a week in jobs. I was doing a lot. And I said, the way for me to double this is to bring in a partner that's identical to me. Because if we have two paces, we're going to light the world on fire. I was wrong, really wrong. You don't want two paces anywhere. Well, you want one pace, one Cody. You want one pace, one Molly. You want one pace, one Josiah, right? I've got multiple different partners depending on the businesses that I own. One pace is enough, okay? I bring this guy into my business and I say, if we can do these things and if you can scale a different division of my construction, I was doing like home remodels and working for Open Door and OfferPad and Zillow. That was my client. I said, if you go out and do insurance work, that's a more profitable business. I can then give you 50% of this business. Okay. Fast forward 2 years after this guy's lost me about $1.8 million on the jobs he's touched. I'm sitting in, it's such a bad story. This is why my wife, when I first met Cody Barton 5.5 years ago, my wife is like, I don't want to see Cody in my house. I don't want to see you partner with anybody. She had just witnessed me get out of this bad relationship like 3 years prior to this. And she was just done with partnerships. It's because I was horrible. I didn't know this stuff. Literally 8 years ago, I didn't know this stuff. Okay. I just didn't. And so some of you guys are sitting here learning from my mistakes. Here's what happens. I partner with this guy. This is roughly 10, 12 years ago. Fast forward, I'm in an empty job site sitting on 2 Homer buckets. You guys know what Homer buckets are. They're the orange buckets at Home Depot. We call them Homer buckets. And we're sitting there face to face. And it was basically a company meeting in an empty job site of another customer's house. And I said, bro, there's only 3 things one of 3 things is going on. A, you're a drug addict. You're a drug addict and something's going on. I don't know. You've never been able to pick up the slack. This has been horrible. We don't even know where you are. You come into the office from 8 to like 11. We don't see you the rest of the day. You say you're out on job sites, but nobody ever sees you. 2, you have a learning disability that you need to go fix because you are dumb. And 3, you're scamming me. You're scamming me. Something bad is going on and I don't know what it is. He's just like, F you, you've never been supportive of me, blah, 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 blah. He's much larger than me. Hockey player, could knock my teeth out of my face. It gets to the point of physical stuff. Well, guess what? I go, get the F out of my company. Get the F out of my company. Guess what he wants? Half of my company that I had years prior. Okay. I get the company computer back, the company truck back, the company phone, the company everything. I have the iMac that he was given from the company. Check this out. You would never guess this. I get the iMac back that he had, and my wife is in the iMac getting ready to reformat it and give it to a different employee. She has it open, and she opens up his text messages, Homeboy had been working a second job the entire 2 years. He was on a $15,000 a month salary. I was paying for his country club membership, his health insurance, company truck, all this stuff. No wonder we couldn't find him. From 8 to 11, we could find him. After 11, he was working another job from 11 to 7. I was in my 30s when this happened, guys. I have no tolerance anymore. I'm done with bad partnerships. And the reality is, it was my fault. I put him in that position. Wrong partnership, bad paperwork, no agreements. Ended up getting a divorce from his wife. He also found out, he reached out to me on Instagram 3 years ago. He's like, Pace, I'm so excited about your success that you have. Pretend like nothing happened. The story's so bad, I don't have time to tell you. He's like, I'm recovering from drug addiction now, and I'm hoping that I could get a job working for your company. I was like, oh shit, I didn't delete you and block you yet? Concrete, rebar, block this guy and cover his. Guys, whose fault was that? Mine.
No operating
if you
agreement.
lend money on a deal and you lose it, it's your fault. If you partner with somebody and don't have a good operating agreement, it's your fault. If you marry a psychopath who ends up being a sociopath and controlling you, whose fault is that? Take ownership and move on. Okay? Oh, this is interesting. The heart is deceitful above all. Yeah, that is true. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? Trust, verify, invest.com.
Hey, Pace, on that note, that business deal that I was talking to you about,
yeah,
Mel would her services would be amazing for that. And, you know, it'll provide huge value for everybody on this call and everybody in the group. Can I say the name of it? It's just beta right now.
No.
If you're not.
Okay. All right.
I can't promote things that I'm not using personally. I appreciate it.
Yeah. No. But I'll hit you up on Instagram. We're just about to launch, brother. We're just about to launch. We're in beta. You can check it out, though.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. So, guys, whether it's a business relationship, whether it's a real estate transaction, whether it's a marriage, whether it's a partnership, I've screwed up on partnerships. I've screwed up on real estate deals. I've screwed up on business deals, transactions where I'm lending. I've screwed up on deals where I've borrowed. There's been times where my paperwork was not clear on when I borrowed. And when I went to pay back the lender's like, where's the rest of my money? I was like, what do you mean? Our agreement was such and such and such. Well, no, our agreement was blah, blah, blah. I got a good one for you. Somebody currently owes me money right now. And I think in like 3 months, I'm going to tell his name. He's a popular figure in the creative finance world. Comes to me I don't know if I've told you this story, have I?
Keep going. We'll see.
Okay. Like prominent guy in the creative finance world comes to me and he says, 2 years ago, he goes, can I borrow $250,000 from you? And I go, yeah, sure. No, like we're friends, man. No problem. What are the terms? He goes, I'll pay you 8% interest. I go, well, because you're my friend, I'll do it because you're my friend at 8%. I'm not a lender, dude. I'm buying deals. My money goes to pay off my private money lenders. When I make money, go pay off private money lenders. Like anybody in here that's been my private money lender? Mel gets stuck in Pace prison and there you go. Julie Burkhart. Do I treat my private money lenders with love and admiration and adoration? Okay. Always pays. There's Jody Evans. Okay. Everybody will say, there's a Lannister who always pays, and there's a Morby that always pays and shows love to his private money lenders. I'm better than a Lannister. Okay. Lannisters learned from me. Okay. Straight up. Ingrid says, I'm actually mad you paid me back early. Well, think about this. Why do I pay you back early? Well, because I get chunks of money on my deals and I'll refinance or I'll do whatever. And I'll take that money and I pay off my private money lenders. So if somebody doesn't pay me back $250,000, That means I'm paying $250,000 of money to another private money lender on a deal I have that I wish I had my $250,000 to pay them off. Does that make sense? So this person's like, oh, it's my personal house. I'm moving to this place and I need this money. I'm not going to say the place because it'll give it away. This person basically over the last 18 months has slowly stopped. Lori Young, great question. How does this guy look at you for 2 years? He basically shrunk into a hole. Nobody's heard from him for the last 18 months because he's owed me money. Now, here's what he did. Pay attention to this. I give him $250,000. He was paying me monthly for the first year. But guess what? He was supposed to pay me back at the end of the first year. Owed me $250,000 plus the interest payments he was making. So he says, I need a couple more months. I go, no problem. Can you pay down a chunk of it? So he pays me $50,000. So now he owes me $200,000. Guess what he does? He then stops paying me interest for this whole last year. And he's like giving me, he won't reply to me. He won't reply to Molly. Molly will text me and go, hey, I haven't heard from him. What's going on? This was the agreement. Here's the agreement. Verbal. Guys, this is 24 months ago. I'm as dumb as most of all humans. I'm dumb. I break my own rules and I will never do it again. Thank goodness I have a Molly. I have Sean St. Clair. I have Mel. I have all the right people. This is what his agreement was. Yes, it was verbal, Susan, but it was in an email, right? It was in an email like, da, da, da. He's a close friend. Thought I could trust him. I go, so let me get this straight. So you're going to borrow $250,000. You're going to pay me 10% interest per year. And you're going to secure me against other rental properties. You're going to secure me against rental properties, correct? He says, yes. So like 8 months later, Molly's like, hey, we don't have the security on this. Like you haven't cross-collateralized. And what's going on? Dude, we find out he didn't even own the rental properties he told us he did. It got so bad that like maybe 3 months ago, I just sent him a text. I go, bro, I'm going to tell you right now that we're going to have a conversation on YouTube. I'm going to do a horror story about how I loan money to you and I'm going to give people the 10 things that I should have done as a lesson. And it's going to get 100,000 views. And you're going to be known as a guy who freaking scammed his friend. And you're so good at real estate and you're such a creative finance investor, yet you had to borrow money from me on a personal house. His family lives there. Can't even pay his payments to me. So now the last message I got from him is like, well, dude, you've made enough money on this. You've made enough money on me that when I pay you back, I'm just going to pay you the $250, not all the interest. What you don't realize is that my $250 that I gave you was $250 I could have paid off another private money lender. So I'm paying 10% to them, and you're now going to tell me you're not going to pay. I lost 10%. It's not Jerry Norton. It's definitely not Jerry Norton. I can tell you straight up, I would not be hanging out with Jerry Norton if he wasn't so legit. He is so legit. And he does have 10 children. That's not a lie. I know that a lot of you guys think he needs to be verified. I've verified that. I met them all. Okay.
And the paternity test and everything.
Yeah. Can we please do a paternity test on all these kids?
Outside of the scope of my work. No.
Okay. Outside her scope. Okay. Jerry's super legit. Guys, and that's the tough thing too. And I tell everybody in my community, just because somebody's a leader in my community doesn't mean you should take my word for it. I'm telling you, do not trust me. That means don't trust my wife. Don't trust my children. Don't trust my friends. Verify. I don't want to hear it. Don't come to me and go, well, you hung out with so-and-so. That's why I gave them $1 million. Could you hang out with them? Well, yeah, they might be running an Affinity scam on me, making me look like we're friends. And then you go and do a deal with them and they scam you. Does that make sense? I got scammed 24 months ago. No. Do you know when I got scammed $1.1 million?
January?
11 months ago. It hasn't even been a year. Ann says, my husband thinks I shouldn't trust you. Tell him he's probably really smart. Have him verify me. Have him look at my stuff. Okay. Have I been yelling enough?
I think people need to hear it. You need to understand, like, I mean, this was born out of me getting scammed as well. And I had somebody say, oh, well, you're an investor or you're an investigator. How could you get scammed? And here's the thing with these affinity scams, you see what people are doing, you see who they're affiliated with, you have them telling these stories and making you feel comfortable. And then if you question anything, they're going to start reversing and questioning you, and maybe you're too new and you don't know. And so they play these games with you, and everybody's susceptible to it. And that's why I talk about there's risk and there's levels of risk. And if you want to avoid risk, then just don't invest. And then there's risk acceptance. And that's where it gets dangerous. That's where you're blindly accepting risk. But then if you employ some mitigation strategies, hire professionals, bring in third parties, that's how you can mitigate those risks and not be a blind bat about it. And then the end is your risk transfer. And that's like, I did a deal, no deal. That's a huge transfer of risk. You can transfer risk with contracts, with partnerships, with other. And so if you use all these mechanisms available to you, it doesn't mean that risk does not exist. It just means you are being smart, you're being methodical, you are being professional about ways you can actually mitigate and transfer that risk. Because at the end of the day, we're here to risk it for the biscuit, but you don't have to do it dumb. So
risk it for the biscuit. I like that. We're trying to get that bread, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes that bread is that biscuit. I'm going to risk it for that biscuit. I never heard that before, dude.
Yeah, risk for the biscuit. No risk, no reward.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's good. Oh my gosh. Please change your website name to riskitforthebiscuit.com.
No, I don't want you to be blind. I want you to mitigate.
Okay. Pace, didn't you have the same issue with a speaking fee? Yeah, I've had a lot of people take advantage of me. I've had a lot of people take advantage, and I'm okay. Like, I take responsibility for it. I learn along the way. I can tell you that when I first met Laura's dad, right, I was 15 years ago, and I was only a contractor at the time. I didn't know anything about real estate when I first got together with Laura, and I was like, man, why is your dad such a dick? He's so mean. Now I'm taking him to the Masters in April, which will be great. By the way, we're doing a great big charity event in April next year in Atlanta. But here's the coolest thing we're going to do is in Thanksgiving, Sub-2 community. We're going to be doing a nationwide Thanksgiving event, November 22nd. Jamil and I are flying to Los Angeles. We're going to go to a battered women's shelter and do a big charitable thing with like a bunch of celebrities. Are going to attract a lot of people to give and give and give and give. So that's going to be cool. I'm super excited about that. Anyway, so like when I first met her dad, I definitely would never have taken him to the Masters. I was like, this guy's a cranky son of a gun, you know? And then the longer I've lived life, I was 25 years old when I met her dad. The longer I've lived life and the more I was a contractor, I was like, I get it. I get why people become calloused. I get why people become closed off, is because you are going to have people coming at you from every different angle imaginable. Yeah, he is a good golfer. When we got married, whatever year that was, don't trust a man that can't remember the year he got married, just so you know. Don't trust me. Okay. We got married in Pebble Beach, Carmel on the beach, but I played Pebble Beach the day I got married with her dad. And I walked off the 18th green, threw my suit on, walked down to the beach and got married. And just to let you know, I beat his ass on the golf course just to let him know who's more dominant. No, Mel, that's not a girl thing. Girls don't do that. Okay. I don't do that. I don't do that either. I was like sitting there the whole time thinking, should I just let him win? Anyway, Anthony says, yeah, make him call you daddy. Oh, my God. Okay.
I'm happy I didn't drink yet.
Mel, do I make you laugh at least one time every time we're on a live together?
I think so. Yeah.
Did I make anybody laugh today? Did anybody get a little? Peggy says all the time, because she knows me, that she knows my humor is like very dry. She knows that I'm just joking. Even Kill Bill, we didn't really remove Bill. We didn't really kill him. We left him in here. We just muted him so he couldn't talk. Bill was John. No, he wasn't. All right. Mel, you're the best. Trust, verify, invest.com. Or if you just want to go straight to the website, it's cardinal-creative.com. Nobody's going to type that, just so you know. Or Melissa at cardinal-invest. No. Melissa at cardinal-invest.com. Nobody's going to type that either.
He wanted to let me know we've got trust verify invest.com. Cardinal-creative.com is the other one.
Guys, I'm telling you straight up, no. Trust, verify, invest is easier to remember. Just type that in.
That's why we've got it.
Okay, Mel, you're the best. Thank you. I appreciate you so much.
Bye, guys.
Guys, we went way longer than planned. Here's what we're gonna do. Everybody is gonna get an email, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna do Zooms with the leaders. Okay, we're gonna break out, do Zooms with the leaders. So that's all the people all over the country, and we will not be doing that tonight. It's Friday night. You should be taking your wives on dates. That's what I'm going to be doing. Okay. Jason says, I haven't gotten my email yet. We haven't sent the email yet, my friend. Okay. Was this a good email, or was this a good Zoom, or what? Honestly, I feel like this is like 1/10 of as cool as our Zooms in Sub 2, but this was really freaking good today. Talking to the Attorney General and the District Attorney, super freaking cool. Eric did a phenomenal job. Sean Reyes got me pumped up. Mel crushed it. We went way longer than I planned, but it was a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to work with Carly on what we're going to do. We'll send out an email so you guys can work with the leaders between now and the next Elephant Challenge, but we will see you guys on